Greetings. This is TK Trav, aka Travis Magus, here with LVX777. It's a late night stream, so you know what that means. We're about to get serious. We're about to get into some very deep occult concepts. So if you're here with me early on this Saturday morning, 1/11, January 11th, 3:33, 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. This is a 9-year, the year of the hermit, 2025. 5 plus 2 is 7, plus 2 is 9, plus 11 plus 1, that's 12. 1 plus 2 is 3. It's all threes right now. All threes right now. So let me know how you're feeling in the chat. Let me know if the audio is good. Can you hear me loud and clear? Are the visuals clear? We don't want to have any technical difficulties for what we're about to get into. We're dealing with elemental magic. And tonight what I'm going to share with you is a pretty important collection of keys to help you understand that you have within you the spiritual authority to command manifestation, to command the elemental spirits around you, to command the demons, the angels, the gods and the goddesses, and all these mystical spiritual things that you use as symbols that govern your life. The truth is, you govern them. But the question that we're all asking is, how do we do that? My friends, tonight I'll give you the answer. It is spiritual authority. And let's get into it. Let's get into it. So apparently the audio and video is good. L, peace and greetings. Welcome, welcome. Sage Page, let's go. Let's go. Sounds good, sounds good. Wraith636, peace and greetings, my friend. Good to see you. K Mac, peace, peace. Enigmatic, peace, peace. Phoenix Wolfette, peace and greetings. Good to see you. Afro Ninja, peace, peace. First in the chat. Veronica Archaga, peace and greetings. I love you. Observer, peace and greetings. Guru Wiz, peace, peace. So we in here. Valara, peace, peace. Peace, my student of the occult. My fellow master student of the occult. Jakari, peace, my bro, peace. Wraith636 says, thank you for saying demons. A lot of people don't like to recognize them. Absolutely, right? And as you know from my channel and being a part of this whole thing, we're not afraid of anything, especially words, especially concepts or symbols. This is what we're supposed to do as maguses, as magicians, witches, whatever you want to call yourself. We're supposed to master these things. That's what we're getting into tonight. So I wanted to make sure that the audio was clear before we get into this. Apparently it's clear, so let's get into it. So tonight I'm going to share with you this concept. Elemental magic is the only way to master manifestation. It's the only way. Learn this now or stay locked in the matrix. This is what we're getting into tonight. So if this sounds like something that you are interested in and you are ready to master this, you're ready to take 2025 by the horns and steer yourself into the manifestation that you desire, hit that like button. Hit that like button. Let me know that you're interested in this. See, 2025, this is a 9-year, and 9 years are directly linked to manifestation, Kabbalistically, especially according to numerology. As far as the Sephirah, we're talking about Yesod, and it is in Yesod that all forms must take place before they can come down to Malkuth. If you know about the paths of Kabbalah, the path that represents the hermit connects Chesed to Tifereth. So we're literally talking about going from the abstract sphere of building forms into the first sphere of manifestation, Tifereth. So elemental magic is the only way to master manifestation, period. So check this out. This is what I'm going to teach you tonight. This is what I'm going to share with you tonight. Elemental spirits are not what you thought. See, a lot of people think about, I don't know, these creatures that are dancing around in the wilderness, these salamander serpents. I heard some old guy talking about how salamanders are actually reptilians, and the gnomes of the earth element are actually the grays. And we have all these antagonist enemies here that are controlling us and hurting us. But I'm going to tell you what popular mainstream either doesn't know or doesn't care to share. You possess the authority to command all demons, all ghosts, all elementals, all gods, and all goddesses. Right now, you might not hear that in other places, and they might not be able to back it up if they say that. But I can most certainly do that, as you'll see. Tonight, we're also going to talk about how you can learn how to manifest a transformed life in as little as 4 weeks, right? As long as you can lock in and learn about these patterns, what they represent, and how they affect your life, you can do this. All right? Stray Panther, peace, peace. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well. So let's get it. I want to tell you that this knowledge, right? This is knowledge that you must learn if you want to have any sense of control over your life. A lot of us go through life and we have these circumstances that happen to us, and it feels like we're out of control. It feels like it's in somebody else's hands or something else's hands. But as a magician, as a magus, as somebody who's working with these energies, you got to know it's within your grasp to change these things. It's within your grasp to correct the energies if they're not working in your favor. Check. If you believe that, let me know you believe that in the comments. This is knowledge you must learn if you want to have any sense of control over your life. And this includes your health, right? This includes your love life. This includes your finances. This includes your spiritual growth. You must know how these elemental forces operate if you want to accelerate in your spiritual path. I'm telling you, all magic is founded and rooted in elemental magic, right? This also affects your ability to help your loved ones. If you want to protect your loved ones, if you want to help your loved ones understand the finer aspects of reality, you've got to understand how it works yourself. So listen up and take notes. So why should you listen to me, right? Well, I'm someone who has been working with the occult for quite a while, right? Long before YouTube was even a thing. I was nose deep in these books, and I was practicing and trying and dabbling, doing all sorts of things to fix my life, right? I had certain issues going on as far as heartbreak and loneliness, depression, anxiety. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. My parents were telling me to go to college, telling me to go to the military. I wanted to make music, right? So at the same time, I felt like my life wasn't in control of my own hands. I had to be obedient and subservient to the powers that be, right? In this case, my parents, my job, things like that. And you may have felt the same way in your life, a sense of powerlessness, but knowing at the same time that you do have the potential to change things. So when I really started tapping into ceremonial magic, that's when I started to see things shift. When I started working with the Goetia, you can see there on the right side of the screen, that's all 72 of the Goetic spirits. And I was afraid at first because I was raised a Christian, you know, and I thought that if I messed with these demons, I'd go to hell. If I messed with these demons, I'd be cursed, right? I thought that if I dabbled in the dark arts, things would go wrong in my life. But at some point, you've got to get over the fear. You've got to have this understanding that it's more scary to live in an unfulfilled life. It's more terrifying to live in an unhappy, depressed life for years and years and years and just see nothing changing. That's more scary to me than some invisible demons or the threat of going to hell or any of that bullshit, any of that nonsense. What was more scary to me was feeling like I would never live up to my potential. That was more scary than to me. So I even did a ritual myself to transition out of Christianity. I asked God in my prayers. I asked for permission to explore magic. I asked if it was within his will that I could explore the deeper mysteries. And God told me, yes, go ahead. And I gave myself permission. I didn't know it at the time, but I gave myself permission to accelerate to the next level. And for some of you, I think that's what you need to do as well. Give yourself permission, right? We were raised to ask permission. Well, now you're an adult. And now you're realizing that you're in control of your future. You're in control of your manifestations. The only person you need to ask permission is yourself. You need to give permission to yourself. Let me know if anyone has ever felt that way, that you're tired of asking permission for a better life. Because it's when you get to that point that you start making changes. So I went through all 72 of the Goetic spirits. I've worked with each one of them intensely, right? Looking for the answer, looking for which one of these demons, which one of these spirits can give me what I'm looking for, which one of these spirits can heal my depression, which one of these spirits can heal my loneliness, which one of these spirits can add finances to my bank account so I'm not struggling, right? So I'm not wondering where the money is going to come from to pay the bills. And I got results, right? I've worked with demon spirits that have given me money, that have given me love and romance, that has given me status in someone else's eyes. I achieved those things. But if you've watched my channel, especially back then when I was making videos about my whole journey, right? If you look back years ago, you can see my whole journey. You'll notice that now I don't really talk about the Goetic spirits. I don't really talk about the Goetic spirits. Why is that? Especially if I said that they worked for me, especially if I said that they've given me results. There's a lot of occultists who still work with the Goetic spirits intensely, and that's cool, that's fine. What I learned is that there was a hidden layer behind these spirits. There was something behind them that powered them, that made them work. It wasn't that there were these 72 separate entities in some other dimension. I learned the truth about these things. Wraith says it's levels. It's levels, right? Building a New World, peace. Building a New World says I spent years meditating and studying. It answered some questions that made me feel a bit better, but it feels like nothing has fundamentally changed. I don't know what could change. Well, if you listen in this live stream, I think that you'll be able to put some pieces together because I've been there. I have certainly been there for a long time. And just like solving any puzzle, as long as you don't give up, as long as you continue pressing forward, you will find the answer. So let me know if you're going to keep going. Building a New World says there's 1,000 problems. I don't know where to start. The world is too fucked up and life seems meaningless. The world is perfect. It really is all about perspective, man. The world is perfect. And when you step into that understanding, the world will adjust to you. That's what we're going to be talking about here. These elemental forces are the world, and how you see them, how you communicate to them is what they're going to give back to you. That's the magic. That's the magic. Suburban Girl says, do you physically see anything? All day, every day. In fact, the faculty to see is a spirit. Listen close. Straight Panther says, no choice, must continue. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So these two folks should look very familiar to you, right? On the left, we got Brother Panic. On the right, we've got the Honorable Bobby Hemmett. They're both sitting in the same throne. These two names, these two energy forces are legends. They have transformed the lives of many, countless people. I would say that they have altered an entire generation. I believe that these two have altered an entire generation with what they've been teaching over the years, over the decades of consistent study. See, this is an example right here of what consistent study can do. You can change the entire world. And if you've ever felt the effect that these two have had upon your understanding, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. An occultist who studies and practices seriously changes the world. Because when you see the truth, you can't help but be the truth. and it's contagious. Ray says the Titans who brought me into occultism, and I was just looking up Malcolm X lectures. Titans, yes. Suburban Girl says facts, my top teachers. Mine too, respect to both of these, right? And I wanted to start with giving these two respect, because if it wasn't for these two, I wouldn't feel and live in the freedom that I live in. I would still be unhappy somewhere, working at somebody's job, lonely, depressed, angry, blaming everyone else, feeling powerless. If it wasn't for these two, I would be feeling powerless to this day. Straight Panther says the synchronicity is astonishing. This lines to the year of the snake. Oh, yes. Building a New World says, how does keep going guarantee anything? What if I'm going in the wrong direction and every step makes things worse? Then you learn and you pivot. You learn and you pivot. I'm not going to promise you that things are going to be easy, but I can promise you that if it is in your intention to make things better and you keep going down that direction, you will find how to make things better. It took you how many years to build the life that you have now? How many ounces of effort do you think it's going to take to correct it? It may not happen overnight, but consistency is the key to the breakthrough. A drop of water continuing to drop in the same spot over years and years and years will definitely make a hole in a mountain. So Urban Girl says, I was in and off with the study because I grew up Christian, but now I'm mentally free. Awesome for you. Awesome, and keep going. Elias says, you're going to be the next legend in the Pantheon, Trav. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And my intention is to continue living the truth. Living the truth. Because like I said, it's contagious. So let's keep going with this. Let's keep going with this. Observer says, panic took me through layers. Same as you, Trav. Benjamin says, Trav is right. Things get better with intention no matter what. So let's keep going. So this is me when I first started doing YouTube, right? I was learning about these goetic spirits. I was doing rituals. I was transforming my life, right? I was tapping into my own subconscious mind. I was learning about these different aspects of myself and how I connected personally with these deities, with these gods and goddesses, with these invisible forces that I found out control everything. And when I say control everything, I don't mean like some people in an office somewhere pressing buttons, making the world go round. What I mean is that each one of these spirits are symbols, like buttons on a keyboard, right? And just like you press a button on a keyboard, something happens. When you work with these cosmic forces, something happens. Always. This is how the world works. You don't have to call them by name or know them specifically, but you're still dealing with them because they are all that there is to deal with. That's what we're getting into, but I'm giving you a little bit of background first. Straight Panther says, I remember those days. Yeah, man. You see me on the right doing one of my first video rituals, tapping into the Akash. I painted myself entirely white, and I had these two lovely ladies act as my left pillar and my right pillar. That was a powerful ritual. A powerful ritual. Tapping into the Akash, right? The spirit of energy. Drello, peace and greetings. Peace and greetings. Sage Page says, I've always danced in the dark with my demons. I believe all is a part of me. And it is. It is. We're going to get into some more details. But like I said, I want to give you a little bit of background to show, like, if you haven't been to my channel, I'm not somebody that's just yapping, right? I've literally been doing this. I've been learning from the same teachers as you. I've been putting in the work consistently since this day, right? You see me right here. This is probably like 2016, 2017, something like that. But even before that, this is after I built up the courage to actually start making videos. And I didn't make videos so I could be the next Panic, the next Bobby. I made videos because there was information that I wanted to know, and I couldn't find anybody talking about it. So I was learning it myself through these books, and I started to make videos to answer those questions that I had, right? They say, be the change you want to see in the world. I didn't see enough videos talking about the Goetia or how to start from scratch or how to work these rituals when you can't afford the tools or when you can't afford the books. Like, what do you do? So I was answering those questions for myself, for my younger self. I think the one thing that really helped me to cross the hurdle of being afraid to go live on camera, those of you who want to start a YouTube channel, those of you who are trying to do videos and social media, the thing that really helped me to not be afraid was I thought about my son, right? He's back there watching his YouTube. I thought about, like, what if one day he wants to get into spirituality, right? Am I going to just trust him to listen to any fool up here yapping? I thought of this somewhat as like a time capsule. Perhaps I can start making videos that my son would watch because I feel like I could give information that he could trust. So in my mind, making videos for someone that I cared about helped me to get over the fear of getting on camera. Maybe that'll work for those of you who want to do videos. But anyways, let's continue. So again, doing these rituals, working with Kabbalistic magic for years and years. And I've worked with many different people doing rituals in real life, right? Not just in my bedroom by myself, but with other people too. So I've tried so many different avenues. So many different avenues. Ray says, damn, Travis, I was thinking the same thing about my twin daughters and son. Yeah, sometimes it takes you doing it for people that you care about. You know what I'm saying? Suburban Girl says, Trav, have you ever seen anything in the physical or only felt them? Absolutely, I have. Absolutely, I have. But I mean, this is the thing. This is not about trying to see spirits, right? If that's your main goal, you're not going to get too far because you're looking for entertainment. But if your main goal is spiritual development, spiritual evolution, there will be opportunities to see angels, demons in their true form and through other people, right? You have to also open your mind. It may not come in the way that you think. These things may manifest in completely different ways than you expect. Oh, I totally forgot about my coffee. Hold on. All right. That's the good thing about having a portable coffee machine in my room. Natural Mystic says, when I'm conscious of it, I like to be responsible and face my demons and handle them instead of letting it influence me. Right. That's what you're supposed to do. Benjamin says, there's so many fools on YouTube and it's honestly annoying. Yes, sir. Tudrella says, so since we ain't in our original form, like when all this knowledge was made, how do we know we getting the truth from white people after they destroy our race? Because I don't see this helping nobody. Well, here's the thing, right? It's all about perspective. If that's your perspective, then it will be very challenging. I do not identify with this physical body, so it's not our race, right? I don't say our. There's no we. This is an independent journey, and when it's an independent journey, that really means your soul is seeking liberation from matter, not the black race, not the white race. Truth is the truth. It doesn't matter what vessel it's coming through. If you know the truth within yourself, then you can recognize the truth coming from anywhere else. But if you're feeling this anger and this hurt and this pain, it's going to be very difficult to advance because you may block the messenger. We don't choose who the messenger is going to be. I would try to expand the mindset, honestly. It's literally not about color whatsoever. Humans are going to do human shit. They're going to have sex with each other and kill each other. That's just the way it's always going to be, always has been. But as far as spirit, our job is to liberate ourselves from matter. You may not agree with that yet, and that's fine. But let's keep going. Let's keep going. Right. So speaking of which, demons are not enemies to fight. I have a saying that there are no enemies, and I mean that. It's all coming from what perspective you're seeing this through. If you're seeing this through a physical body and you're identifying with a race or some group, right? Every group has enemies. Every group has enemies. What did Bobby Hemmett say, right? Get up out of these groups. Because you're dealing with a hive mind. And when you deal with a hive mind or an egregore, you're taking on the qualities good and bad. That's why this is a solo journey. You've got to identify the forces and influences that are around you and learn to manage them. Amanda Pelland, peace. Amanda says, hi, Travis. I'm new to your channel, although I'm not new to the occult. I've been enjoying your content. That's great to hear. Thank you for being here. Zero, peace. Good morning. Zero says, I want to make videos in my language talking about meditation and share my story because I want to share something that anyone can't give me till I find you. I want to facilitate the information. Go for it. Go for it. Find what you're passionate about, what really makes your heart sing, right? What gets you up out of bed, and do it. Do it. Practice, test, and see where you fit. All right, so let's get to it. Let's get back to it. Let's get to it. So check it out. Demons are not enemies to fight. That's what we've been taught. That's what we've been shown in movies and TV shows and comic books. Demons are not these enemies that we have to fight. That's a fantasy and that's an illusion. And that is a miseducation. To believe that is to set yourself up for resistance that you don't even need. Tan Pomeroy, peace. Good morning to you. These spirits are symbolic representations of your very own energy that must be cultivated. That's the big point of what I'm going to be talking about here tonight. These are symbolic representations of your own energy that must be cultivated. This is what I've learned working with these goetic spirits. This is all you. And you've heard this before. It's you. These spirits are you. Specifically, they are your energy that is unconditioned, uncultivated. It's wild. It's savage. And it rules you. It rules you because it's not disciplined. When these energies are not refined and not cultivated, they work against you. We're talking about patterns. They're set in patterns and they do their own thing. The same way that you pick up patterns from your environment, from your parents, your DNA, your family, your friends, the energy does the same. You inherit this energy from your society, from your culture, and it's up to you and nobody else to discipline these energies. They are not under your control until you refine them. You. Now, check it out. These energies, right? When they are disciplined, when they are refined, when they're under your control, this is what you've been calling luck. This is what you've been calling synchronicity and manifestation. In fact, it happens in that order. The more that you discipline these energies, the more that you start working with these energies, the more that you start harnessing their power and directing them with intention and authority, it starts to become luck. You start having better luck, don't you? Then it starts to turn into synchronicity. Oh, 1111. Oh, I said this and now it appeared. Oh, I was just thinking about this person and there they are. See, the time has come for this information to be more and more accessible to a wider range of people. What I like to say is that the barrier of entry has been lowered. See, in the past, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 years ago, you had to do a whole lot more work to tap into the disciplining of these energies. As time moves forward, there's less and less work that you have to do. In fact, this is the easiest time that there has ever been to discipline these entities, these energies, these elementals, these forces. Now is the easiest time. Now, conversely, what we're seeing is that there's so much distraction, so much illusion, so many things to get caught up in and wrapped up in that people think it's difficult. What's happening is that your manifestation power, the potential for your manifestation power is becoming more and more intense with every passing day. With every passing day, it's becoming more and more intense. But see, you're so stuck on distractions that you're using your manifestation to amplify the distractions. You're using your manifestation to amplify police brutality and celebrity scandals and politics and what do they call it? Sicknesses that spread across the world. You're focused on these things and you're causing them to manifest more and more. What you should be focused on is how can you evolve yourself? How can you liberate your spirit from the influence of matter? Does that make sense? Ray says, I see demons just like the lost boys from Peter Pan. They're youth stages and they hold a lot of trauma that goes unchecked by you. That right there. That right there. And that's part of those patterns and those cycles, the trauma that you've inherited, the trauma that you've brought with you into your grown age. It manifests as these spirits. And until they are disciplined, rectified, assimilated, neutralized, they will continue having their effects. They have a mind of their own, and they will continue to replicate what they've been told to do until you stop them. They don't stop on their own. They don't change on their own. They don't transform and transmute on their own. It's up to you. This is the whole purpose of this card here, right? The magician, the Magus card. You notice specifically now on his table, he's got the representative of the four elements. He's got the chalice for water. He's got the pentacle for earth, the sword for air, and the wand for fire. And he's in the pose of as above, so below, because he is the vessel connecting to his higher self and to the lower self. He's directing the forces into the elements to shape the world around him. That's where all those roses in that beautiful garden, that's what that represents. He's channeling these forces and organizing them and arranging them. In fact, this card is the card that connects Kether to Bina. Bina is the great mother, Prakriti, the matrix herself, the formulator. Kether is the all source. So the magician literally represents the connection between the all source and the matrix. You're supposed to be standing here with power, directing the all source into the elements to create the matrix in the way that you see fit. That's what you're supposed to be doing, and that's what this card represents. Sage Page says higher archetypes will be attracted to you when you discipline the unseen self. Yes. Yes. Rose of Flame. Peace, peace. Good to see you. Alkalinity Light. Welcome, welcome. Ilah in the building. Peace, peace. Wraith says most people are still indoctrinated and are not ready to receive this information that are being provided by those who've been studying. Yes. Yes. And like I was saying, the barrier of entry is lowered. It's easier to access the information to ascend. It's easier now than ever before because so many of us have put in the work, hours and hours of consistency. Remember what I said about Brother Panic and Bobby Hemmett? Because of their dedication to the work, they transformed a generation. The whole world is different now because of efforts of occultists like them. You see that in your life. By you learning from Brother Panic, Bobby Hemmett, keys were unlocked, strongholds were torn down, and you've been given the instructions of how to rebuild. This is the power of the occultist. You don't just change your life, you change the lives of those connected to you. So when I say the barrier of entry has been lowered, so many occultists have put in the work, like Dion Fortune, right? Like Israel Regardi and Manly P. Hall, so on and so forth. Phil Valentine, the list goes on. But because of their efforts, we now have access to higher stages. We stand on the shoulders of giants. So when I say that 2025 is going to be your best year yet, the year of manifestation, this is what I mean. You literally have everything you need. You have everything you need. And part of my desire is to make sure that I share with you in case you forgot or don't know. How we doing? How we doing? We still tuned in and tapped in? We still here? Jeffrey524 says, "Hi Travis. This is also amazing here in the occult." Fuck yeah. Good to have you here. Zero says, "This gives me chills in my soul." Awesome. Your soul is speaking to you. I know you're a warrior. I know you're about it. I ain't got no doubt in my mind that you're going to figure this thing out quick. Quick. So let's keep going. So, one more time. These energies are what you've been calling luck, synchronicity, and manifestation. So, what that also means is if you're experiencing bad luck, if you're experiencing things not working out, things falling apart, if you're experiencing none of your manifestation, it's the same energies, but they are not being disciplined by you, right? What I want you to understand is that demons are your own unrefined power. They are literally your own unrefined power. Even if you think of yourself as like this big octopus with 8 legs, it's as if you were born and you don't realize that those are your legs. You think you're just this head, and these legs are just flailing and flopping around everywhere, doing whatever out of your control, right? That's what you call demons and angels and elementals. You think that it's some external thing that's controlling you, forcing you. But the key is to become self-aware, to know thyself. When you start to realize that these forces are your external energy and internal energy, you can start to direct them with intention. They are your legs, your arms, your body. They're not these external bad spirits that are trying to hurt you. They are parts of your invisible self. So you've got a physical body, but you've also got an etheric body and an astral body. It isn't shaped exactly like your arm, leg, head. It's shaped differently. It extends. It's like an aura. It's like a bubble. And there are different parts of this bubble that you haven't become aware of. So they operate outside of your awareness. They operate below your awareness, subliminally. Liminal is the line that divides conscious and unconscious. These forces are subliminal. But just like Carl Jung said, enlightenment is making the darkness visible, bringing light to the darkness. Somebody knows that quote. If you can find that quote from Carl Jung, post it in the chat here. But he said something to the effect of, enlightenment is bringing light to your darkness. Straight Panther says your Pokemon, right? Peace, Shadow Music. Peace and greetings. I tell you what, music is a powerful form of magic. Truth of the Void Gaming says absorbing all the info. Well, I got a lot of it here for you tonight, so I hope that you're here to stay tuned. And I hope that this is helpful to you. And thank you, Straight Panther. Straight Panther says support those who support your overall spiritual growth and development. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I've got these two up here. If you've been a long-time viewer of my channel, you know that I've had a lot of work with Andras, a lot of learning lessons with Andras. He perhaps was probably the most influential Goetic spirit to me, and Marcosius as well. Marcosius taught me the power of spiritual protection, having a guardian, having someone by your side that can help you when you feel like there are others who might be trying to hurt you or do something against you. See, this energy can also reach out and affect people without your presence. That's your power as well. You understand that? Natural Mystic says consciousness over ignorance, light and dark. Joe Itama says, where does 0 point energy from heart space plays in elementals? This is going to be related to the Akash element. This is going to be related to the Akash element and what I call spiritual authority. Shadow Music says, absolutely. 100, my go-to guardians are daemons. All right, so I want to make sure that I have your attention because we're about to get into some study. All right, so here's the next part. Understand this and screenshot it if you haven't. A magus is one who understands certain frameworks of operation. In order to manipulate energy successfully and sustainably, the practitioner will be skilled in the following. This is the 9-year, 2025. 5 plus 2 is 7, plus 2 is 9. This is the year of the hermit. So that means that these specific energies are at the forefront of the cosmos right now. Like I said, it's accessible to everyone. However, most people have their attention on things that won't necessarily help them grow. You're different. You are focused on your inner light, just like that compass, like that lantern this hermit is holding. This is the magus of power. He's got his staff, he's got his light, and he is going within. Within is where the power is. You don't change the world through the physical, you change the world through the astral, through the mental, through the etheric. This card represents manifestation. As I said before, the hermit path is what connects Tifereth to Chesed. We know that Chesed is the builder, the organizer, the one who's able to see the abstract and bring it down into manifestation. This is about seeing the invisible and making it visible. Spiritual enlightenment, soul searching, self-reflection, introspection, contemplation, inner guidance, solitude. These are the themes this year. And if you're pulled towards these things, this is going to be where your strength is found. Not in the outside, not in a president, not in some group, not in a diet, not in some financial plan. Your truth, your evolution, your goal is going to be reached by going within. And this is what I mean by going within. Wraith636 says, Brother Travis, honestly, when I started studying demonology, I realized I became more educated about myself and the choices I've made in my life once I got away from spookism. Facts, right? Facts. Because it's the spookism that keeps us away from the truth of what the occult is all about. It's not about devil worship. It's not about hurting anybody, hurting yourself. It's about understanding the subtle aspects of your energy. And the only way you can do that is by shutting out the world and going within. Shutting out the world and going within. Taking the time to meditate. Taking the time to stand in the mirror and talk to yourself. Learn about yourself. Discover your likes and your dislikes. Understand that you are not the physical body. You're not your emotions. You're not even your thoughts. You're the observer. And when you can learn that you're the observer and work from that vantage point, now you have the authority to control the things on the outside. There's some powerful stuff here, and I want you to catch it, because there's not too many other places that you're going to get this. You're not going to find this at Walmart. You're not going to get this at the Dollar General. You're not going to get this at Kentucky Fried Chicken. Jeffrey says, I noticed on my left-hand path or occult channels that they are saying once you work with demons, there is no going back. What's your take? Absolutely. Once you start working with these invisible forces, your life begins to change. Isn't that what you want? Isn't that why you're reaching out to work with these spirits? Because you want your life to change? Or do you want more of the same? See, most of us go to work with these spirits because we don't see any other way to change reality in the way that we want it to be changed. So that's what you want. If you don't, leave it alone. And I ask you to examine your definition of the word demon. What does that mean to you? I told you what it means, but what does it mean to you? Just because I said it doesn't mean that you accept it. I can suggest to you that these demonic forces are just symbols of your power. It's like you can see a diagram of a human body, and you can see the organs and the veins and the heart and all that stuff. You can't see your heart. You can't see your lungs and your gallbladder and your thyroid and your pineal. But somebody told you about them and you believed it. You believe in the symbols, right, of the pictures. And you believe that the heart is pumping the blood, the lungs are breathing in the air, but you never see it. You believe it, though. That's what these demonic spirits are, especially an organization like the 72 Goetia. They are a diagram of your etheric body, of your astral body. It's a diagram. And once you learn the diagram, you can understand how the energy flows. You learn what part does what. You know, the heart does this, the liver does that, the kidneys do that. Well, now you're going to learn that the earth elementals do this, the water elementals do that, the air elementals do this. And it's not what you expect. Tian Pomeroy says, I'm very interested in how Neptune and Aries is going to shift everything. I heard it's for the first time since the 1800s, dissolving the boundaries of what we think are so being on the path will help. Right. And that's another reason why I said the barrier to entry is lowered. It's not just because it's 2025, but it's because these forces are reorganizing, and it's allowing consciousness to shine upon the elements in a way that it hasn't in a very long time. So Bourbon Girl says, Trav, what about the other 72 angels? Do you work with them too? Yes, and it's the same concept. The difference being the Goetic spirits mostly deal with the subconscious mind and the parts of you that are very terrestrial. The 72 angels deal with the corresponding aspects, but on a higher plane, on a slightly higher plane, not even that much higher. It's not about angels versus demons. Again, just like I said, the Goetia are like a diagram of your body, of your etheric body. You could say that the 72 angels are a diagram of your astral body, but it's the same thing. It is all parts of you. And also, it's not the arm, leg, head. It's more of a circle like this. It's more of an aura, like an orb. And it's sliced up into 72 divisions. Hence why they're called angels. Right? And when you learn about what these 72 divisions represent and control, you're getting a wider perspective of what you actually are. Not about war in the heavens about against these creatures. This is all you. This is the point I'm trying to make. So look, this is the 9 year. Now let's finally get into this, right? What is an elemental? Now, I went to, just a brief Go search, Google search, Wikipedia search, just to give you some basics on this. I highly recommend that you do your own research. Don't just take what I have. Do your own research so you can see where I'm getting some of this from. But this is the short and skinny. An elemental is a supernatural being that embodies a force of nature. Think about that, a force of nature. What is nature? And what is a force of nature? Where do you fit in that? They're often described in occult and alchemical works and are sometimes depicted in fantasy, art, and fiction. All right. So also understand that this isn't just something somebody made up. These entities, these forces were described by some of our most respected scholars like Plato, Plotinus, so on and so forth. These Greek scholars who we get a lot of our modern information from. Now, I'm not saying that they created it or they were the inventors of it, but they were the ones who were credited with it. And their credibility should also speak to the fact that they spoke of elementals and regarded them as very seriously. Paracelsus, that's the name I was searching for. The Swiss alchemist Paracelsus classified elementals into 4 types, each corresponding to an element of nature. The types, he said, were gnomes, associated with earth, heaviness, and matter; undines, associated with water; sylphs, associated with air, and sometimes depicted as fairies. Powerful creatures if you've ever done fairy magic. And salamanders, associated with fire. And here's a hint. Look to your astrological sun sign, your moon sign, and your rising sign. You're going to find an affinity with the corresponding element. So if my sun and moon are an air sign, Gemini, then I have a natural affinity with these air elementals, with these fairies, with these sylphs. If you have strong fire in your chart, you've got a closer connection to the salamanders, etc. Now it says here powers. Elementals are said to control natural powers derived from their element. For example, air elementals might be able to manipulate the weather or fly. And I'd like you to look deeper into that. it's not just about what's on the surface level, because air also represents the power of thought. Water also represents the power of emotions. Fire also represents the power of the spirit, of energy, of prana. And earth also represents the power of the material plane, of the body, your bones, your skin, your home, your car, right? But this is the intelligent aspect that you work with to help manipulate these things. Let me know if you're following me so far, because we're about to dive in just a little bit deeper. Enigmatic says, so much is happening around me that I'm being forcefully guided to go within. Synchronicities with no holds barred. That's a sign that these entities are becoming disciplined by you. That's what synchronicity is. Frame Star Films, my brother from another mother, across several ponds. Always great to see you, my friend. Peace. Jay Baldhill says, my computer is being slow, but wanted to say that in my workings with Andras, he approached me not to sow discord, but to teach me to improve my anger and insecurity in life. Boom, right? Boom. So just like what I said about the elements of air, water, and fire, it's not about the surface level. How does it connect to you metaphysically? Likewise with these spirits, they say that Andras sows discord and can kill the magician. Well, I urge you to look deeper into that. Perhaps he's the master of discord and he can teach you how to heal discord in your life. Perhaps when he's talking about killing the magician, maybe he's talking about killing your false ego, killing what you think you are, the false self. Because really, you're not a magician. You're a soul that is learning that it is a soul, that it is not matter. Suburban Girl says, Delbert Blair is also a great teacher. Yes, shout out to Delbert Blair. Delbert Blair also opened my mind to so many things. Peace to all the great teachers. Useless Familiar. Peace. Jeffrey524 says, the strong pull is what brought me into this path, and it is meant for me to watch this since I'm normally working this time of night. Yeah, this was supposed to happen earlier, but I put so much effort into this. Like I was telling my Gnosis, shout out to my Gnosis, right? Hell of a guy. Love the guy. I was telling my Gnosis, I was supposed to do this earlier, but once I start working with these PowerPoints, I start putting so much information in, and then perfectionism gets in the way. So I made up my mind that we were doing this tonight. I didn't care what time. So you guys get a late night, early morning live stream. I'm glad that y'all are here. We got a really good, healthy number. So I'm grateful that you're here. I'm grateful that you're getting this lesson. And yes, you are supposed to be here right now. Look, we got Patchwork in the building. Peace, Patchwork. Peace. How's the bass guitar coming along? Straight Panther says Steve Coakley. Yes, Steve Coakley as well, right? Shout out to the teachers. And if you can think of a teacher, go ahead and put them in the chat, right? Because we also give respect to those who helped us get this far. That's important. Gratitude. Valera says Gemini perfectionism. Right. You know what I'm talking about. Shout out Music says 4 p.m. here in Thailand. Nice. Observer says, yeah, I'm usually asleep by now. Yeah. Well, let's get back into this. Observer says Dreamwise. Shout out to Dreamwise. Right? Dreamwise has helped me. We had at least 2 live events that were awesome. Dreamwise is a great guy. D-Ray, Mook, Masterly Foolish. He's not really on YouTube anymore, but yeah. Shout out to all of those warriors on the path pushing truth, right? Pushing forward in truth. And you too. Shout out to you. You are the master teacher of your life. I'm just here to remind you. Zero says it's 2:25 a.m. Okay, a lot earlier than me. Straight Panther says Dr. Barashango, Dr. Hendrik Clark. Peace. Valara says Conjure Queen. Peace to her. Next Gen 13 says C. Freeman L. Of course, C. Freeman L. I say 13th son. Peace to 13th son. Ananya Tyagi. Wow. Blast from the past. Great to see you, Ananya. I want to say I hope you're doing well, but I know you're doing well. I know you're doing well. I'm proud of you. You're doing awesome things. Really good to see your name pop up. Jai Jagopal is in Utah on them roads. Always safe, my friend. Making that money. Cool. Raid 636 says major honors to bro C. Freeman L, who was Bobby Hemmett's teacher. Absolutely. Maro Fakir. Peace, peace. Great to see you. Thank you for all your support. I hope you're doing well. Suburban Girl says Dr. Inky. Right. Ray says Sister Myra. Shout out says peace to King Payman. Shout out to these entities as well. Valar says Kamsen the Oracle. Black Dot. Right? So yeah, you can continue shouting out your teachers. Let's keep going with this. So what is an elemental? We're talking about the supernatural being that embodies a force of nature. Miss Blue, absolutely. So again, let's take it to the Vedic, right? Let's take it to the Vedic. Ooh, Alim Bey. Hell yes. Alim Bey. Archangel Raziel. So let's take this to the Vedic information, because honestly, this has been my study. I cannot talk about the Hermetic and the Kabbalah without going back to the Vedic, which is where a lot of this stuff comes from. Now, the Vedic information talks about a Bhuta Gana. What is a Bhuta? Have you ever heard of this? Have you ever heard of the Bhuta? A Bhuta Gana refers to a group of Bhutas in Hindu mythology. They are essentially a collection of spirits or divine attendants associated with the deity Shiva, considered to be powerful and sometimes fierce beings, often depicted as a group of attendants with various forms and abilities. Bhuta means ghost or spirit. Gana means a group or a troop, right? So here we're talking about another organization of spirits, just like the Goetia is an organization of spirits. J. Paul says, shout out Travis Magus. Shout out to that wonderful, beautiful, humble teacher. Shadow Music says, oh snap, y'all feel the energy rise. I most certainly did. Patrick says, shout out to my watcher, Aunt Inanna. Sage Pay says, I send gratitude to you, Travis. I've been mentally updated since watching your content. Ananya, I know that you would know, right? Because you're right there in the thick of it. Bhuta and Gana. Am I saying that right? Minuet, I don't think we're talking about the same thing here. Enigmatic says Bruce Lee. Facts. Ray says gratitude to Lucifer for bringing me light. LVX. Absolutely. J. Baldhill says shout out to the triple goddess. So let's look at these Bhuta Ganas. I don't think that most of you have heard of these. So these are a group of spirits, right? In certain Hindu traditions, particularly in the coastal regions of India, Bhuta Aradhana rituals are performed to appease these spirits through offering and dance performances, right? They can represent various spirits, heroes, ancestors, animals, and even malevolent entities. This should start to sound kind of familiar to something that you know. The often fearsome appearance of Bhutas is meant to signify their power and ability to protect or punish depending on the situation. So that's something important to understand here. They might look ugly and ferocious. That doesn't mean they're evil. That is a representation of their power. As soon as you look at them, you feel this sense of terror. That is a reflection of their power. So if you see an entity and a spirit that's ugly and fearsome, that does not mean it's evil. That does not mean it's evil. Ananya says, I'm 95% right with the pronunciation. Hey, that's much better than I thought you'd say. So let's keep going. Let's keep going about these Bhutas. So a little bit more about a Bhuta. A Bhuta is a supernatural being, typically considered a ghost of a deceased person. In the cultural folklore of the Indian subcontinent, it refers to a restless spirit that is unable to move on due to unfinished business or a troubled past life, often associated with violent deaths or improper proper funeral rites. So the Sanskrit origin comes from the word Bhuta comes from Sanskrit, literally meaning what has become or something that belongs to the past. That's key. What has become or something that belongs to the past. Remember, Wraith talked about how this trauma, right? The trauma continues to reflect in our lives. These are the elemental spirits, something that has become and it belongs in the past. If we never heal the traumatic echoes that some of these elementals have become, they continue echoing in our lives. That's why certain people keep choosing abusive partners, keep choosing relationships where they're unappreciated, continue to have bad luck. These are echoes of an energy from the past that hasn't been healed. You can heal these energies. We're going to talk about how. Keep paying attention. Kai Chi, peace. Kai Chi says peace, passing through with highest luminaries and vibration. Great to have you here. I hope you're having a great night. I can feel some very pleasant energy from you. Jay Baldale says, shout out to the Savior who dies for our sins, Jesus Christ. Facts. Without him, many people of the world wouldn't have any hope. You better give shout out to Jesus Christ. I'm dead serious. I'm living serious too. Patrick says, sounds like the Bandar on the Cult of the Dead. Oh, yes. So we've got these Bhutas here. And like I said, I like to take it to the Vedic because this was way before ceremonial magic as we know it. This is some of the earliest spirituality. Now, here's just a screenshot that I took from a dictionary of Vedic terms. Bhuta, a spirit. Some Bhutas are subhuman nature spirits or elementals. Boom, it says it right there. Some Bhutas are elementals, but some are earthbound human spirit ghosts. Bhutas may be either positive or negative. So look at this. This elemental type discussion didn't come from YouTube, and it didn't come from Manly P. Hall, and it didn't come from Paracelsus and Plato. This is way before all these elementals have been talked about, way before Greece was even a country, was even a civilization. This is ancient information, and they already understood it over there in the East. That's what I want to show you with all this information here. Look at the very bottom. Brahma, the creator. And look at how it says, of the three worlds of men, angels, and archangels, right? Somebody asked about the 72 angels. Check out what it says here. Bhur, Bhuva, and Swaha. Now, if you know your mantras, who can tell me the mantra that goes Om, Bhur, Bhuva, Swaha? What is that mantra? This is a mantra that gives respect to the physical plane, the astral plane, and the mental plane. Tat Saviter Argo Deva. There we go. Somebody knows Gayatri mantra. The Gayatri mantra. For those of you who want to get into mantras and have never done one before, you cannot go wrong with the Gayatri mantra. The Gayatri mantra, right? So when it talks about Bhur, we're talking about the earth plane. That is also the plane of the elemental forces. Bhuva is the plane of the angels. Swaha is the plane of the archangels. Now, if we take this to the Kabbalah, we're talking about, remember, those of you who have been present for my mystical Kabbalah book study, we talk about the four worlds of the Kabbalah. Bhur would be equivalent to Asaya. Bhuva would be Yetzirah. Swaha would be equivalent to Bria. So when we do these mantras here, we're attempting to harmonize our consciousness with the awareness of these mystical worlds. I want to tell you once again, this ain't nothing new. This didn't come from YouTube. This didn't come from anything modern. This has been here for, some of this information goes back 5,000 years on record, 15,000 years according to legend. This is ancient technology we're working with here. This isn't something some American just made up. So we're tapping into the real stuff. The real stuff. Let's keep going. Speaking of the real stuff, this is Swami Sivananda. Okay, now we got to follow the lineage. So you know that I love the book Taught with Shruti, which is written by Swami Satyasangananda Saraswati. She belongs to the group known as the Bihar School of Yoga. And I know you've seen this book before, Dharana Darshan. On the cover here, his name isn't Dharana Darshan. This is Swami Niranjanananda Saraswati. He also belongs to this Bihar School of Yoga. His teacher was Swami Satyananda, and his teacher was this fellow here, this great teacher, Swami Sivananda. Now, these people brought divine information. They brought clarification on yoga and how to practically attain liberation through different exercises. This book alone contains enough exercise. You could just get this book by itself and just be done with it. You can just study this book, do what's in here, and you'll experience the superconscious. This is a manual for doing that. Yes, I've tapped into those levels, and I'm working to get back to where I was. But I'm showing you this to show you that this guy here is the teacher of Dharana Darshan's author's teacher. And here's what he said about Bhutaganas. I was doing some research and I stumbled across this. I wasn't even looking for it. And I was so excited to see what he wrote about it. I'm going to read this to you. He says that Bhutaganas, sometimes these elementals appear during meditation. So how many of you have meditated before and have these visions and these recurring scenes that pop up? These are the elemental forces. So look, sometimes these elementals appear during meditation. They are strange figures, some with long teeth, some with big faces, some with big bellies, some with faces on the belly, some with faces on the head. They are the inhabitants of Bhuta Loka. Now, there's a few terms here that we're going to break down. Right now, we're getting into the study. So let's run through it. They are inhabitants of Bhuta Loka. Keep that in mind. They are Bhutas. They're supposed to be the attendants of Lord Shiva. They have terrifying forms. They do not cause any harm at all. That's the key. I said there are no enemies, especially in the spiritual plane. They do not cause harm at all. You might get frightened because they're scary, but that only represents their power. They cannot hurt you. So when you're meditating and you see these visions, they cannot hurt you. Your job is to not react to them and expand past them. Let's keep going. They have terrifying forms. They do not cause any harm at all. They simply appear on the stage. They come to test your strength and courage. They can do nothing. They cannot stand before a pure, ethical aspirant. Repetition of a few omkaras will throw them at a distance. So keep that in mind. Omkaras. He said the repetition of a few omkaras will throw them at a distance. That's your primary defense when dealing with these forces. We'll get into that. You must be fearless. A coward is absolutely unfit for the spiritual line. Develop courage by constantly feeling that you are the Atman. We're going to get into that. Negate the body idea that is inveterate. Practice Nididhyasana. We'll talk about that. Nididhyasana always, all the 24 hours. That is the secret. That is the key. That is the master key to open the treasury of Sat Chit Ananda. We'll talk about that, right? That comes from the Yoga Sutra of Patanjali. That is the cornerstone of the edifice of bliss. That is the pillar of the edifice of bliss. That is the pillar of the mansion of Ananda. Vinayakas are types of elementals. We'll get into that as well. All right, so look, I read that to you, and there's a lot of words that you may not have heard before, don't know what they mean, and me neither, but that's what this study is about. We're going to get into that. I'm going to read it again after we go over these words. And here are the words. Who do we have there on the right? Who knows who that is? This is your Lord of the Elementals. This is a symbol of one who is the king of all the elementals. So in what we just read there, he talked about Bhuta Loka. Take a screenshot of this, because I would love for you to go back and do some research on these terms, especially the 14 lokas. This is going to be something really cool to go do your own research on. A lot of people have talked about flat earth. We've talked about, are there multiple dimensions and alternate dimensions and all that stuff. The Vedics have already went through this in detail. It's not nothing new. Multiverse did not come out with Doctor Strange and Spider-Man. This has been here for thousands of years, 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 years, right? These concepts have been here. This is what reality is, and it's been understood. So I want you to look up the 14 lokas and enjoy that. But yeah, we're going to go over the Bhuta Loka, repetition of Omkara, because he said that's what throws them off, the Atman, Nididhyasana, Satchit Ananda, and the Vinyakas. We're going to go over those things. Let's start with Bhuta Loka, because that's one of the most interesting concepts. And y'all are right. Ganesh, right? Check this out. Let me know if y'all are enjoying this presentation. I had a lot of fun putting it together. I'm having a lot of fun presenting it now. I hope that you're receiving this. Let me know in the chat if you're enjoying this. If you're learning something, that's what's important. So Bhuta Loka, let's get into it. Look at this beautiful diagram. I love it. That's why I said I want you to do your own research so you can really get a feel of how awesome this is. This is the ancient diagram of our universe, right? So what you're seeing right here, it's within a bubble, and all those other bubbles are other universes. And you see in the center is Mount Meru. That's that can be considered the very center of our world, right? We live in a place called Jambu Dweep. That's what they called it, Jambu Dweep. If you can see that there in the center, it says the known world. Jambu Dweep could be called Earth, right? So right there in the center, that plane, you can see Africa to the left and Asia to the right. See, it's got the ocean of salt water all around it. This is Jambu Dweep. This is where we live. Now, look right below that, you see Bhuloka, earthly realm. Keep in mind, the Bhutas. The Bhuloka, Loka means realm. Bhu means earth. So this is the earthly realm. Now, remember I talked about the Gayatri mantra, Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha. You've got Svarloka, right above Mount Meru. That's where the archangels reside. That is the world of Bria. And the three above, you could say, is the world of Atziluth. Now, you can see that there are several planes of existence below where we are. And these are the so-called demonic realms. Not hell, like from Christianity or Islam. These are realms of increasing density with different types of intelligences. So there are intelligences that go all the way down to the most basic, densest dimensions. And there are realms that go so far high that we literally can't conceptualize with our human brains. 444, thank you, Patchwork. Always on the time. I appreciate that, my friend. Jay Baldhill says it's badass, Trav. Thank you for this. Thank you. Ray says, definitely appreciate this session. It's exactly what I needed to hear at this moment. Shadow Music says, reminds me of the realms of Mortal Kombat. I promise you that's where they got it from. Valera says, learning indeed. Zero says, totally love this presentation. Joey Thomas says, so far, so good. Sage Pace says, enjoying every bit of it. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. We're doing it. We're doing it. Sage Pace says, where can I find these slides after the live? I'd love to have a copy for study. Sheesh. I mean, maybe I could send it to you on Instagram, but like I said, I got most of these off of Google searches and DuckDuckGo search. But if you look up those terms, like I told you, these will come up. So check it out. If you recall from learning about hermetics and stuff like that, we talk about how there is a great man. Hermetics and Kabbalah calls him Adam Kadmon, right? The Vedics called him Purusha. But I want you to look at this. On the cover of the Mystical Kabbalah, you'll see in the background there is a person, right? This is roughly the same diagram, but westernized. and you see that there's a person in the midst of this, that's also what's happening on the right side. They saw this universe as a giant person, and you can see there the different realms. You see at the top of his hat, you see Burloka, Bhuva, and Swaha. Remember, we're on Burloka. And notice to the right, you've got the 7 chakras: Sahasrara, Ajna, Vishuddhi, Anahata, Manipura, Svadhisthana, Muladhara. These are the channels that you operate through within Burloka. And this is what separates you from the higher and the lower planes. Just like how you have the magician here, right? Standing in the center, as above, so below. That's the same thing you've got here. You stand in the center of heaven and earth. You are the channel. The ancients knew this. Let's keep going. So that's Bhutaloka. So now you know that. Now you mentioned about the repetition of Omkara. What's the Omkara? Oh yeah, Audie Moore says the ocean's very interesting. Yeah, I'll let you go look into that. Look into that. You'll see there's so much here that I can't even get into in this presentation. Maybe I'll do a presentation on just this one day. But we're talking about the elementals right now, so we got to kind of keep it somewhat contained. But trust me, you'll have a lot of fun looking into the lokas. Patrick says man is the gate between worlds. Big facts. Big facts. Harji Simon says enjoying this from Africa. Great, great. Zero says Dragon Ball universe is literally similar. That's crazy. All of this comes from reality. Truth is stranger than fiction. So now let's talk about the repetition of Omkara. Before we go to the next slide, does anybody know what Omkara is? Does anybody already know what Omkara is? Om Pur Bhuva Swaha Tat Svaviturarenyam Argo Deva Yo Yo Ha. Does anybody know what Omkara is? Okay, maybe not. That's cool. Let's talk about it. Omkara is that symbol you see there on the right. You say Om, but the full name of it is Omkara. Now, Omkara is integral to Hindu philosophy. It represents the sound Om, symbolizing what? The ultimate reality. It encompasses various aspects of divinity across traditions, including Vaishnavism, Shaivism. Omkara signifies creation, connection to the divine, and the essence of the universe, serving as a focal point for meditation. It is considered manifestation. It's a manifestation of the absolute reality and a sound that guides individuals towards the ultimate truth. It's a sound that guides individuals towards the ultimate truth, encapsulating spiritual principles and meditative practices across different philosophical schools. So check this out. How is it that a sound can guide you towards the ultimate truth? And how is it that this sound can banish elemental forces? Could it be that, we talk about the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. Could it be that when these elemental forces are misbehaving, it's when you've identified with them, when you think that you're them, and when you chant the Om, it gives you an opportunity to see that you are the spirit and not the elementals? Maybe there's something to do with that. I had to take it back to the old school, Stray. See, that's how I can tell you've been with me for a long time. Because you recognize this music. $5,008. Peace. So yes, Omkara is simply Om, and it is the sound of the ultimate reality. Right? Let's keep going. So that's Omkara. Let's talk about the Atman. The Atman. The Atman means eternal self. The Atman refers to the real self beyond the ego and the false self. So you've heard me talk about spiritual authority. When I say spiritual authority, I'm not talking about your ego. Oh, I'm God. No, I'm talking about your real self. The real self. And you got to be the real self if you want power. If you want to wield real power, you got to be your real self. See, the elemental forces don't really listen when your ego tells them to do something different. They respond to what they already know, the pattern that's already been set in place. That's why these affirmations don't work. That's why certain rituals and things don't work, because it's not coming from a genuine, real place. Higher entities communicate with your real self, not with your ego. So if you're having trouble connecting with some of these entities, perhaps it's because you're not operating from your real self. Atman means eternal self, the real self beyond the ego and the false self. It is often referred to as spirit or soul. It indicates our true self, our true essence, which underlies existence. The idea of Atman entails the idea of the self as a spiritual rather than a material being. And thus, there is a strong dimension of Hinduism which emphasizes detachment from the material world and promotes practices such as asceticism. Sage Page says, thank goodness they don't listen to my ego. Right. It's actually a blessing and a safeguard. Absolutely. Absolutely. This other slide says, Atman is a Sanskrit word for the true eternal self, of the self-existent essence or impersonal witness, the observer, right? It's distinct from the material ego, from the mortal ego. It's distinct from the emotional aspect of the mind. So we're not talking about your emotions. We're not talking about your thoughts and your memories. We're talking about something so much deeper. So much deeper. Drella says, will y'all look up Urugu and the Ice Man inheritance? Yeah, man. So like when I say it's bigger than that, I mean it, dude. I have that book, The Iceman Inheritance. I read that book. What else? Dirt, right? You're gonna say dirt next. I got that too, right? So on and so forth. I got the whole collection of those books. And still, it's deeper than that. Like what was just said here, you got to find the real self that's beyond the flesh, the real self that's beyond the body, beyond the race, beyond the emotions, beyond the memories, for real. So, like it says here, in order to attain moksha, a human being must acquire self knowledge. And self knowledge is not history of your race. Self knowledge is not history of what you did in your lifetime or what your relatives did the past 30, 40, 50, 60 years. We're talking about what is beyond matter. Beyond matter. That's what's going to get you there. So that's the Atman. Let's talk about Nididhyasana, right? Because that was a term I had to look up. Wasn't familiar with until I realized I was familiar with it. Nididhyasana. We got our man Vivekananda right here. And what did Vivekananda have to say about that? Vivekananda says Brahman is without action. Brahman is without action. When we talk about Brahman, we're talking about the ultimate God, the highest, right? What's beyond even Kether? What is inconceivable? What is the highest of the high, the most high? Brahman is without action. Now we talked about Atman just now. Atman is Brahman. Atman is Brahman. And we are Atman. Knowledge like this takes off all error. So when I say there are no enemies, this is the angle that I'm coming from. Not flesh, not body, not memories, not culture, not the poison that we call culture. I'm talking about from the God level. Brahman is without action. Atman is Brahman. That's your personal true self, right? Your personal true self is Brahman, and we are Atman. Knowledge like this takes off all error. What threat is there? What fear is there? What doubt is there? What pain is there? What suffering is there? The only pain and suffering has to do with identifying with this body. Now, I didn't say it's easy, but it's the truth. I didn't say it's easy to break free in a sin. I still have pain. I still have wants and desires and whatnot. But the practice is to learn how to expand past these things. Past these things. Let's keep going, because this is serious. It must be heard, apprehended intellectually, and lastly realized. So just like the Bible says, faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God, right? There's a truth in that. The truth must first be heard. You got to hear it first. Literally hear it. Just like me talking to you right now. Just like they say Kabbalah is literally translated from mouth to ear. First, it must be heard. Then it must be apprehended intellectually, right? And lastly, it is realized. So there's 3 different stages here. Some of y'all are just now hearing this. Some of y'all have heard it, and you're just now apprehending it intellectually. And some of y'all have heard it, you've apprehended it intellectually, and you've realized it, and you are realizing, right? We may be in all 3 of those different stages, right? I'm still realizing, I'm still apprehending intellectually, and I'm still hearing. Cogitating is applying reason and establishing this knowledge in ourselves by reason. Realizing is making it a part of our lives by constant thinking of it. You got to live it. You've got to live it. This constant thought, or dhyana, is as oil pours in one unbroken line from vessel to vessel. Dhyana rolls the mind in this thought day and night, and so helps us to attain to liberation. Think always soham, soham. This is almost as good as liberation. Say it day and night. Realization will come as the result of this continuous cogitation. This absolute and continuous remembrance of the Lord is what is meant by bhakti, devotion, worship, right? That was from Swami Vivekananda. What he said there is, remember that you are God. And when I say you're God, we're not talking about your ego. We're not talking about your feelings, your emotions. We're not talking about your memories. We're talking about that true self, not the false self, the true witness that's behind this. It takes work. You got to meditate. You got to meditate. But you will find that there is a true self behind those eyes. There's a true self behind those thoughts. There's a true self behind those emotions and those memories. That is what you're striving for. That is what God is. Not the external, not the physical, damn sure not the physical, not the emotions and the mental. It's behind all that. And it's your job to find it. When we say know thyself, we're talking about that, not the external self. You understand that? And you've got to keep this on your mind every day, because that's how you get closer and closer to it. The next square says Nididhyasana. In Advaita Vedanta and Jnana Yoga, Nididhyasana is profound and repeated meditation on the Mahavakyas, right? Great Upanishadic statements such as that are thou, to realize the identity of Atman and Brahman. So the 4 Mahavakyas and meditating on them is a powerful way to realize the identity of your soul. It is the 4th step in the training of a sisya, consisting in preparatory practices, etc., etc. So what are these Mahavakyas? That's really important. These are the 4 Mahavakyas. Prajnanam Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi, Tatvamasi, and Ayamatma Brahma. One translation is consciousness is reality, self is reality, self is consciousness, self-consciousness, reality is eternal being. A better translation that I like is this one here. Notice the Omkar there. Truth, the Void Gaming says, are you leaving this live up? Yes, I believe so. At least for the weekend, and you'll see. So the 4 Mahavakyas, this is what they are. And remember what he said about this. And we've done a book study going over this as well. This is what Nididhyasana is. Nididhyasana is meditating on these 4 statements daily. Number 1, consciousness is Brahman. Remember, Brahman is the Most High God. Consciousness, and look, his name isn't Brahman. That's a word to describe that reality. So don't get mixed up on the name and say, oh, well, that's not my God. We're not talking about a name of God. We're talking about a title here. Consciousness is Brahman. I am Brahman. That thou art. This self is Brahman. When you meditate on these, essentially you see that God is everywhere. Everywhere. God is not separate from anything. That person that pisses you off, the person that you lust after, the dog, my pregnant cat, all of it. All of it. You hear that first. Then you intellectualize that. Then you realize it. And when you realize it, you reach a new level. And that's what yoga is all about. That's why we're doing all this. Not for money, not for sex, not for power over somebody. You're doing this to realize who you are. This is where the 72 demons of the Goetia brought me. This is where all these spirits and all this astrology and tarot, this is where all this stuff brought me. To realizing that I am God. Consciousness is God. You are that. The self is God. What enemies? What reptilians? What monitoring spirits? What boogeyman? What demiurge? What fears? What blockages? What excuses? What depression? What lack? You following? Look at that. Thou art the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Don't hate on Christianity because they tried their best to give it to the regular folks. They did a decent job. Now it's the people who kind of took it all kind of ways, but the practice itself is solid. Maybe not the people, but the practice itself is solid. Zero says Brahman is the conversation between you and your soul. J Baldo says, was just reading the Mahavyakas in my journal from when we went over them about a year ago. Yes, yes. Jeffrey says, I was taught that God is what is in all of us and everything else. The energy is in all things. Chris Ram says, Maya makes us think that we are not right. And that's the whole thing. We're trying to realize what we are beyond Maya. Tudrella says, okay, control everything about you, then use natural to raise your vibration. What about Sun Ra and the cosmic orchestra? I love Sun Ra. I love Sun Ra. Sun Ra was most certainly sent from the beyond to help raise the vibration. Absolutely. Okay. So let's keep going. We're almost wrapping it up here. So we talked about the Bhutaloka. We talked about the Omkara. We talked about the Atman. We just talked about Nididhyasana, which is the repetition of the 4 Mahavakyas, which are consciousness is Brahman, I am Brahman, that thou art, this self is Brahman. Framestar says, yo, Trav, never mind storming the gates of the 111 portal. You kicking down the damn doors to it with this live. Hey, man, we got to do it. We got to do it. It's the time for it, right? So if you can catch this information and see where I'm going with this, I'm laying this all out to connect some dots here. I'm laying this all out to connect some dots. So let's talk about Satchit Ananda. Satchit Ananda, what does that mean? Satchit Ananda is a Sanskrit term that describes the nature of reality as it is conceptualized in Hindu and yogic philosophy. Some consider this to be the same as Brahman, absolute reality. Others use it as a term to describe the experience of realizing the unity and the wholeness of all existence. It is said that Satchit Ananda is the source of all consciousness and all perfection. To experience Satchit Ananda is to achieve the goal of the spiritual journey. Who am I? I am pure awareness. This awareness is by its very nature being consciousness bliss. That's what Satchit Ananda means. Being consciousness bliss. What in Sanskrit is called Satchit Ananda, the blissful intelligence of the universe, or in China, the eternal Tao. In Western New Age terms, you would talk about trusting life or trusting the universe. When you receive support from the blissful intelligence of the universe, you're able to use your intuition as a guidance system to navigate your life and achieve your goals. So when we're talking about the Satchitananda, we're talking about that sense of trusting the universe, trusting God, right? Trusting this blissful intelligence, the eternal Tao. There's an awareness of a certain consciousness that when you're aware of it, you know that everything's going to be all right. You know that everything's working out in your favor. You release doubt and negativity and fear. You let go of it. This is how manifestation happens for you consistently when you realize this. Because you can think this way and live this way, or you can think and live in a paradigm where basically an animal where you're always in fear, always feel threatened, always on guard and defensive. See, when you're living like that, you're living in those lower lokas, in the animal realms, fight or flight, fear, pain. Now, I don't know about you, but that's not a place that I want to be ever again. And I choose not to. I don't have to. No matter what happens on the outside, when you have this understanding, this realization that everything's going to be all right, you allow this Satchit Ananda to operate. This is your spiritual authority. This is your spiritual authority. Things are always going to test us. Didn't we just talk about that? These things show up to test you, to test your fortitude, your strength. And what do? So now let's finally talk about these Vinayakas. What are these Vinayakas? So the much adored Lord Ganesh is worshipped not only as a god of wisdom and learning, but also as the Lord of beginnings, Lord of attainment, Lord of prosperity. His many aspects are reflected in his many names. He can be the creator of obstacles, the destroyer of obstacles, the lord of obstacles, Ganapati, the lord of the Ganas, right? We learned about the Ganas. That's what Ganapati means. That's what Ganesh means. He's literally the lord of these elemental forces, literally. And guess what? The elemental forces create your experience. Everything that you do is the elemental forces. And Ganesh is the lord of this. He's the protector of the weak. He's the one with the big belly, the elephant-headed one, etc. As Vinayaka, he shares a special affiliation with the sacred city of Varanasi, and anyone who wishes to set foot in this hallowed land must first propitiate the rotund deity. Rotund means round belly. So, what sort of creatures are the Vinayakas? As stated here, there are a number of different creatures mentioned in scriptures, one of them being the Vinayakas. They're described as malefic spirits ruled by Ganesh that cause all sorts of obstructions. It is pertinent to note the description of them being those that cause obstructions and being under Ganapati, the remover of obstacles. So look, what did it say here previously? You could see Ganesha as the creator of obstacles or the destroyer of obstacles. Same energy, but it depends on your association with it. See, your elementals can be creating your obstacles or destroying your obstacles. It's nobody's choice but yours and how you've trained them. How you've trained them. All my elementals are winners. Shout out to Milo. He took the elemental magic mastery system, which is my class where I teach you how to tap into spiritual authority and command these elementals to do what they're supposed to do. This is what I teach you in my class. Milo took the class and he gave me this wonderful quote that I'm not going to forget. All my elementals are winners. This is the type of attitude that you have to have when you're dealing with these forces of your reality, especially if you've created obstacles. Turn them into winners. Let's keep going. So now that we've gone over those terms, let's go back over this one more time, right? Let's go back over this one more time, right? Remember the Bhuta, Loka, that's the earth plane, the repetition of the Omkara, right? The Atman, that's your soul. Nididhyasana, that is the repetition of I am God, you are that is me. The self is Brahman. We talked about Satchitananda, which is this ultimate bliss, this level of reality where you understand that everything works out the way it's supposed to. The Tao, right? This blissful intelligence. This didn't come from New Age. This has been here for over 15,000 years. If you want to learn more about Satchit Ananda, you might want to tap into this book, The Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, written by none other than Sri Swami Satchitananda. Great book to have, great book to study. Good question. Jay Baldhill says, in terms of Goesha and demons, would you say Belial or Beelzebub could be equated with Ganesha? I would say Belial sounds closer to it, for sure. But honestly, Ganesha would rule over all the Goetic spirits. Ganesha, Goesha, Ganesha, Goesha, Ganesha, Goesha, Ganesha, Goesha. So we've gone over these 4 terms. And of course, the Vinayakas, that's another name for Ganesh and his army of elemental spirits. Let's go. Let's go. Sometimes these elementals appear during meditation. They are strange figures, some with long teeth, some with big faces, some with big bellies, some with faces on the belly, some with faces on the head. They are inhabitants of Bhuta Loka. They are Bhutas. They are supposed to be the attendants of the Lord Shiva. They have terrifying forms. They do not cause any harm at all. They simply appear on the stage. They come to test your strength and courage. They can do nothing. They cannot stand before a pure, ethical aspirant. Repetition of a few Omkaras will throw them at a distance. This is why you have the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. You must be fearless. A coward is absolutely unfit for the spiritual line. Develop courage by constantly feeling you are the Atman, the true self, right? Negate the body idea that is inveterate. Practice nididhyasana, always, all the 24 hours. That is the secret. That is the key. That is the master key to open the treasury of Satchit Ananda. That is the cornerstone of the edifice of bliss. That is the pillar of the edifice of bliss. That is the pillar of the mansion of Ananda. Vinayakas are types of elementals. So now that we read that the second time with the words that make it make sense, do you see that these elemental forces are everywhere, always, not just in the physical plane, but also in your mind and in your feelings, in your imagination? And as long as you identify with them and think that you're them, they will confuse you and scare you and frighten you. But when you remember that you are the soul, you reclaim your spiritual authority and you put them in their place. A repetition of a few Omkaras will throw them at a distance. You must be fearless. Develop courage by constantly feeling you are the Atman. See, spiritual authority doesn't come from the ego. Spiritual authority comes from knowing who you are, what you are. See, I said this before, if a traffic officer, police officer is out there in the middle of the road directing traffic, right? All these vehicles speeding past, they're not afraid of the guy. The guy doesn't think that he can flip cars with his bare hands. No. He's there under the authority of the power behind him. And everybody driving those cars recognizes the authority. He's not there under his own authority. He's not there under Jim, Bob, Michael, whatever. No, he's there under the authority of the police force or whatever. So all the cars have to respect the authority that he's wielding. So see, you're not working on your own authority. You're not commanding these spirits with the authority of James and Ashley and John, Sarah. You're not commanding these spirits under the authority of your ego. You're commanding these spirits under the authority of the soul. Does that make sense? This has been the lesson since day one. This has been the lesson since before there was an America. This has been the lesson since before there was a Europe. This has been the lesson. since before books were written. This has been the truth. And you know what? The truth is still here. It didn't go anywhere. It's not tampered. It's not hidden. You just didn't think that it was a good idea to find it until now or recently. Is this making sense? This is making sense. You don't come on the authority of your human self. You don't come under the authority of your emotions, of your memories, of your feelings, of what you identify as. Whatever you identify as doesn't matter. What matters is, do you know who you are? And I don't mean flesh. Do you know what your soul is? And do you know that you are the soul? You got to know this. That's where spiritual authority comes from. That's when you command. That's when you live. Look, when we talk about manifestation, you see these people on the internet talking about, oh, manifestation, just trust the universe, live in gratitude. Some of them are flaky and weird, but not all of them. Some of them have achieved this understanding that I am the soul. I'm connected to that Satchitananda, that Tao, that eternal love that leads me, guides me, protects me. It is me. I'm not worried about what Donald Trump is doing. Oh, they're going to ban TikTok. I'm not worried about none of that. My soul is in control of all of it. Of all of it. What fear? What depression? What pain? What enemies? The soul can't. It can't even be touched, let alone hurt. It's about the angle you're coming from, the perspective. And I'm not coming from no human perspective. To a human perspective, this sounds like gobbledygook. To a human perspective, this sounds like crazy talk. This sounds like woo, right? The fuck is this guy talking about with stars and shit in his background, towel on his head? Fuck out of here. Let's see some booty meat clapping. Let's see some sexy red. I want to see people shooting each other, right? The normal mind don't want to hear this, can't comprehend it. You got to be ready for this information. You got to be on the level for this information. Check. Ananya says it's making absolute sense with what I've experienced and felt. Every single word you say. I know you felt it. We talked about that. You had an experience. You had your Kundalini awakening. So you're blessed to have experienced it. You've seen it. You know, it's like taking a trip somewhere. You've been there. You know what it feels like. You know how to go back. Ananya says, like in a state of Satchitananda, everything manifests quickly. Right. Because you're already there with it. You're one with the things that you want. Like if you take this information and then go listen to these manifestation people, it starts to make sense. They say, live as if, right? They say, picture your end result, your end goal, and live as if it's true. Well, that's not just make believe and pretending. You're living in a state of existence where it is true. And if you hold on to it, if you believe in it, it manifests through you and through your elementals. Your elementals respond to these commands that you're giving them, just like they've always been responding to the commands you've been giving them. You've been telling them, oh, what a piece of shit. I'll never amount to anything. Life sucks. Everyone's out to get me. You've been telling your elementals these things. So what do you think they're going to do? Ananya says this stuff makes people triggered. Right. My friends got angry when I said God is everywhere. They freaked out. It's not time for them yet. So let's keep going. Let's keep going. Thank y'all for being here, right? So, thwarting bhutas, right? In many regions, bhutas are said to fear water and objects made of iron or steel. So keeping these near at hand is believed to afford protection from them. The scent of burnt turmeric is also said to ward them off. As is typical of ghosts throughout the world, invoking the name of holy figures and deities is also said to repel bhutas. So there again is acting on behalf of a higher power, right? That's why you'll see in movies they hold up the cross to stave off Dracula, the vampire. It's symbolism. So look at this. Where are we at? According to Hinduism, the soul cannot be destroyed by any means. That's important. As a bhuta is just the lost or angry soul of a deceased person, Hindu exorcists will not or cannot destroy them. So look, this is not about defeating and destroying and fighting your demons. This is not what this is about. You don't fight them and destroy them and beat them. No, you can't, because they are parts of your soul. But perform instead a ritual from the Atharva Veda called Atma Shanti, which is just a modified Shraddha, a death anniversary, carried out by those haunted by a bhuta, promising it that they will do everything in their power, either to ensure the rebirth of the bhuta or to finish the works left incomplete by it. Such actions provide the bhuta with what it wants, causing it to cease haunting its victim for good. This is how you stop negative energies. You don't fight them, you heal them. This is how you deal with trauma and the negative forces happening in your life. You don't fight it and try to kill it. You heal it, you integrate it, you find out what it needs. This is not a battle or a war. This is about healing the fractures. Bhutas, the spirits of deified heroes, of fierce and evil beings, of Hindu deities, and of animals, are wrongly referred to as ghosts or demons, and in fact are protective and benevolent beings. Isn't that the truth? See, even your traumas, and I've done lots of trauma work with people, right? I've done lots of shadow work, hundreds of people, right? I had my shadow work class and I did one-on-one sessions, multiple sessions with many people. And this is what I've come to realize. The pain, the trauma is a protective measure that you established when you were young. For example, if you're someone who's not confident and you're shy and you just can't seem to be confident, that's not an evil spirit. What's actually happening is that there's a part of you that was hurt in the past, and it thinks that it's protecting you from being hurt again. It's performing its function as a protector. But the thing is, it doesn't know that you're an adult now, and you don't need to be protected from that. So you've got to go back and heal that. You've got to speak with it on its own level. You've got to deal with it and integrate it back into yourself. Give it a new job, because it's still working off of that old job that you gave it. These elemental forces are protectors and healers. Bobby Hemmett talked about this when he talked about Horus. And Horus had these 4 angelic spirits. When he was a child, protected him and kept him safe. But when he became an adult, they became his servants. He's talking about the elemental forces. And this is what it's supposed to be. They're supposed to protect you, help you achieve your goal, because you helped them. But a lot of those forces are locked in the past. Remember what we learned earlier about the word bhuta? It means a force from the past. A lot of them are locked in the past. This is why shadow work is so important, because you got to free them, liberate them, reassimilate them. Jay Bahadiel says, healing them is exactly why I have that shadow work symbol from my meditations. You help me inspire. Integration and learning from them. Yes. Tudrello says, a shout out to you. Teaching me for a while. For real, I didn't know none about it until I watched your videos. For real, I was scared, but shook that and dove in. And now I know so much about soul elements. Awesome. Awesome. Keep going. Keep going, because like I said, the barrier of entry is low and all the information is here for all of us. This is a new time. This hasn't happened before. But I still got a while to go, but I'm consistent. Awesome. And that's the best way to be. Chidinma says, what can I say to give it a new job? First, you got to identify it. You got to get to know what these patterns are. You got to analyze them. Now, there are methods to really go into trance and communicate with them directly. There's also a way to do it from the conscious mind, which is by paying attention to your patterns and your routines. And just as you go through your day, just ask yourself, why do I do this? What am I doing this for? Why do I always dress this way? Why do I always wear this? Why do I always eat this? Why do I do this at this time? Keep asking these questions as far as why you do these things. And you'll start to see the meaning behind these forces. When you can identify that there are certain patterns that are outdated or no longer serving, you can lead them, you can instruct them and talk to them literally. Or just like changing your habits. The example I use is like going to the gym and not eating as much sweets and Debbie cakes. What do you say to yourself to accomplish that? What do you do to get off of the Debbie cakes and the sweets and get back into the gym? Hold on a sec. Oh, my mic was muted. My bad. So yeah, Chidima, what I want to say is, how comfortable are you speaking with yourself? How comfortable are you talking to these aspects of yourself? Can you stand in the mirror and close your eyes and communicate with these things and take it seriously? Or do you feel childish or silly or weird? Because it's going to require you actually communicating. And it's nothing to be ashamed of or feel weird about. Because these are living forces. So we're reaching the conclusion here. And once again, I want to thank you for being a part of this. Like I said, I really hope that you're getting something from this. I know this is powerful information, and I mean what I said. Once you understand how to work with these elemental forces, manifestation starts to become so much easier, as you just saw with the concept about Sat Chit Ananda. So, demons, right? Spooky. A demon is a malevolent supernatural entity, typically considered an evil spirit, often associated with causing harm to humans in various mythologies and religions, right? So, this is what we usually think of when we hear the word demon. We think about this evil monster, right? That is bad and it hurts us, or we can make it hurt somebody else. That's what we think of. The word demon comes from the Greek word daemon, which could refer to a spirit with both positive and negative aspects. So understand that this word demon that most everyone is thinking of is totally wrong. Demon doesn't even mean what people think it doesn't mean this evil creature from hell. It has never meant that. That is something that Hollywood came up with and scared Christian preachers and church members came up with. That's not even what it originally was, nor what it actually is. We understand that part, right? Demons are not these monsters in hell. It says here, negative association. In most interpretations, a demon is considered a harmful supernatural being that seeks to inflict negativity on humans. But that is not any sense of truth whatsoever. In Abrahamic religions like Christianity, demons are often depicted as fallen angels who rebelled against God, with Satan being the most prominent example. Yet the crazy thing is, most of these so-called demons existed before the Bible was written. Not even part of the Christian pantheon. It was literally a political attempt to make these other cultures seem negative and to adopt their people into Christianity. We know that. History showed us that. So let's keep going. Demon, spelled diamond or daemon, it means God or godlike. It means power. It means fate, right? It denotes an unknown super factor, which can be both good or hostile. In ancient Greek religion and mythology, a daemon was imagined to be a lesser deity, a guiding spirit. Remember, these are protector spirits. Daemon comes from provider or divider of destinies. Daemons were seen as the souls of men of the Golden Age, tutelary deities, or the forces of fate. So these were protectors of spaces and protectors of fate. And they were heroes of the past. So where do we get this evil stuff from? Hollywood. The Hellenistic Greeks divided daemons into good and evil categories. Agathodaimon, which means noble spirit, and kakodaimon, which means malevolent spirit. They resemble Arabic genie, and in their humble efforts to help mediate the good and ill fortunes of human life, they resemble the Christian guardian angel and adversarial demon, respectively. Eudaimonia came to mean well-being or happiness. The comparable Roman concept is the genius who accompanies and protects a person, there we go again, or presides over a place. So a big part of what we're seeing here is that these things, these spirits, whatever they're called, from whatever culture, they're protectors. They're protectors. Now, what instructions did you give them? Is their protection something that's actually helping you, or is it hindering you? And it's nobody else's fault. You have to deal with it. What are these? These are the tattvas. If you've been dealing with my channel for any amount of time, you've seen these and heard about these. According to various Indian schools of philosophy, tattvas are the elements or aspects of reality that constitute the human experience. Boom. These are the aspects of reality that does what? Constitutes the human experience. So your human experience, what you call human experience, I want you to think about this now. What you call your human experience. That's you right now listening to me, watching this video. That's you driving in your car, going to work, chit-chatting with friends, family, fighting, making love, eating, thinking, praying, playing video games, watching, like everything that's in your human experience is the play of elements of the tattvas. In some traditions, they are conceived of as an aspect of the Indian deities. Although the number of tattvas varies, they are thought to be form the basis of all our experience. They are the basis of all our experience. That's the key right there. The Samkhya philosophy uses 25 tattvas. Shaivism uses 36. In Buddhism, the equivalent is the list of Abhidharma, which constitute reality as a Namarupa. So do you see these 5, right? 5 elements. There's 4, but there's a hidden 5th. You've got earth, water, fire, air, and of course, the black egg known as Akash. Now, if you look closely at this, you might not be able to see it, but these 5 elements have correspondence. Remember, it said before, I want you to remember this. These constitute your reality. They constitute your human experience. They're thought to form the basis of all our experience. Your entire reality is made of the elemental forces and nothing else. There is nothing else. To be a human means to exist through the elemental forces. Are you getting this? Like, this is what they taught in the ancient Vedic tradition. Remember, I said this was 5,000 years ago on paper. No, 10,000 years, 15,000 years, right? This goes way back. This is the matrix, not a computer program. As you can see here, it's not simply just earth, water, fire, and air, like literally. The earth element lines up with your ability to smell. The water element lines up with your ability to taste. The air element lines up with your ability to feel touch. The fire element lines up with your ability to see. And the Akasha element lines up with your ability to hear. They broke this stuff down. The fact that you have 5 senses is because of these 5 elements. So what you call the earth element is literally you smelling things. So whatever you smell, you're experiencing earth elemental energy. Whatever you taste, you're experiencing water elemental energy. Is this clear to you? Whatever you see, it's done through the faculty of the fire element. Whatever you hear, it's done through the faculty of the Akash element. In fact, that is your human experience. You feel things, you taste things, smell, touch, see things. That is your human experience. Did I miss anything? Notice here, right? So we've got some more of the process. On the far right, you have the manifestation of these elements. But before any of that can happen, prana, which is literally what you mean when you say energy, prana, which is raw life force, it moves through the Akash, which is that hidden 5th element. And as that prana moves through the Akash, which is space, it becomes ether. It becomes the etheric plane. And as it becomes more and more dense, it manifests as air, fire, water, and earth. It manifests as sound, touch, sight, taste, and smell. It manifests as the ability to move and to speak and to grab things. They broke down the whole human. This is like taking apart a car or taking apart a gun. You see all the working parts, all the moving parts. It all comes together. And the ancients categorized it all according to these 5. They were precise with this thing. You might want to take a screenshot. So what happens next? It starts to look a little bit more like the tree of life, doesn't it? The further that we go. So on the left, we've got a diagram here. And this diagram shows us at the very top clear consciousness. And you can see that as Kether. That is clear consciousness, not identifying as anything, purity. Now that 1 splits into 2. That's where we have that next circle. Energy, prakriti, right? And consciousness. Consciousness and energy. That's your masculine and feminine. Guess what? That's Hakma on the tree of life. For those of you who are studying Kabbalah with me, you're seeing Kether. The second circle is Hakma. Now you can't have 2 without that hidden third. And whenever you see 3, what did I teach you guys? Or what did the Vedic information teach you all? What are the 3? When you see 3, what are we dealing with? Anybody in the chat? Whenever you see 3, we're dealing with Roger, Thomas, and Santa, right? The 3 gunas, Rajas, Thomas, and Sattva. There you go. There you go. See, I knew somebody was with me. Look at that third circle. They define it here in this diagram as inertia, motion, and shine. We know that motion is Rajas, inertia is Tamas, and shine would be Sattva. We're looking at the left side, by the way. So that's your Kether, Hakma, and Bina. That is the upper triad. And just like in the tree of life, look at how it's kind of separated and different from the rest. So look what happens next is space. Space. And that is your Kosh element. And that could line up with your Gibara and Chesed. Next, we have air. That would line up with Tifereth. Tifereth is the air element. Notice how you've got that hexagram inside that circle, just like Tifereth. It lines up, doesn't it? Then, of course, after that, you've got fire, which would be Netzach and Hod. Then below that, you got water. And look at how it's the crescent moon. And on Kabbalah, that would be what? None other than Yesod. And then finally, the earth element, which would be Malkuth. So this is how it lays out. All of reality is built out of this. Patrick says mercy, severity, and mildness. Hell yeah, that too. Sage Page says hidden fourth. Yes, that too. The hidden fourth would be the totality of these 5 elements underneath the gunas. So on the right, it says Tat was at a glance. Now this one's kind of more complex, but essentially what we're dealing with is the fact that that pure light of consciousness, as it shines down, it enters this Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva, which is the motion of up and down, the vibration, the Om. And that vibration splits the light into a prism. At the bottom, you've got that rainbow of color. At the bottom, you got your 5 senses. You've got the different complex reality of life. But all this is an illusion. All this is an illusion. Because at the end of the day, we're all dealing with what's at the top there. Purusha, the Drasta, the observer, the soul. Now, again, here's another diagram of that same tree. But I mainly wanted to show you that this really reflects what's happening in the Kabbalah. The middle picture, right here in the middle, that's what the picture is. On the left, I kind of zoomed into the top portion, which is consciousness. And on the right, I zoomed into the bottom portion, which is Prakriti. But basically, it just shows that all of our human experience is the elements. You've got the Jnanendriyas on the right, your nose, your tongue, your eyes, your skin. Those are the 5 elements. The Karmendriyas, the anus, the sex organs, the legs, hands, and mouth, right? 5 elements. And I already mentioned smell, taste, form, touch, and sound. All of this is Prakriti. All of that is Prakriti. All of it. The elements. That's the point that I want to make with that. So boom. Right there on the left, that's the picture from Tatwashuddhi. We can see the elements lined up with the human body, just like on the cover of Mystical Kabbalah. But understand this. This is the lesson here. This is the major lesson that I wanted to convey to you. The elemental forces are your experience. Your 5 senses are the elemental forces. Your habits are the elemental forces. Your environment is the elemental forces. Your consciousness experiences only the elemental forces. There's nothing else to experience except isness. So when I say know thyself, this is what I mean. And this is what the ancients meant when they said, know thyself. Know thyself. Know that you are not this body. The body is the 5 elements. The experience is the 5 elements. You're something greater. Remember the Mahavakyas? Consciousness is Brahman. My soul is Brahman. Thou art that. everything is Brahman. This is why meditating on those Mahavakyas can lead to liberation, because you really get an experience of the fact that you are not these elements. In fact, these elements are supposed to be following you. What you actually are is way too powerful to be a prisoner. Way too powerful to be something that feels trapped, captured, limited, dead, broken. What you are is so much more powerful than that. You shouldn't be living like that. You deserve better because you are better. You don't deserve to be wealthy and happy and in love because of something you did. You deserve to be wealthy and happy and live a life full of love because you are wealth. You are happiness. You are love. You are those things. But when you're chasing them, what you're telling these elemental forces that you're not these things. When you're chasing these things and you're trying, this is what I learned. We can fast forward to the beginning of my journey, or rewind, I should say, to the beginning of my journey. I felt that all those things that I wanted was outside of myself. I wanted to be loved. I wanted to have enough money to pay my bills and get something to eat. I wanted a better job. I wanted to be able to be creative and do what I loved and enjoy my life. I wanted to wake up and actually be happy to get out of bed. I didn't want any more drama. I didn't want to go to work to be abused by my boss and my coworkers. I knew I was better than that, but I didn't realize it. When I started working with these forces, with these spirits, this is what they showed me. I'm better than this. The life that I was living, I'm better than this. I don't need to look for love because I already have it. I trained my elemental forces to protect me from pain. That's why I was lonely. I trained my elemental forces to keep me working hard at the job because I thought you had to go to work and work hard and break your back and spend all your energy just to make a measly amount of money. No, that's for somebody else's benefit. I'm supposed to have everything I need. But it didn't come to me until I realized the universe has my back. And I don't mean it from some woo-woo type of, oh, love and light perspective. No, from understanding my soul is the real me. And God is my soul. And there is a state of existence where everything is perfect. There are no enemies. In fact, there's nothing but love. I can't escape it. And the more that I lived in that dimension, the more that my elementals learned, oh, right, there's a saying that says you teach people how to treat you. That applies to your elementals as well. See, when you're by yourself, cameras are off and there's nobody around, how do you talk to yourself? You give yourself tough love. You beat yourself up. You call yourself names. You tell yourself you're a piece of shit. Tell yourself that you're not worth anything, that you'd be better off gone. What are you telling your elementals when nobody's listening? Because they're listening. And you're reinforcing them. You're better than that. You deserve better than that because you are better than that. You are the soul. Don't matter who your parents are, what color your skin is. Don't matter what you did, because you're not your actions. You're not your body. You're not your memories or your thoughts or none of that. Yes, karma exists. But still, karma belongs to the elements, not to the soul. Karma belongs to the elements, not to the soul. So there is a way to bypass karma. But as long as you identify with these elements, you take their karma. Remember what I said? When you balance and harmonize and master these elemental forces, it starts to manifest first as luck. Good karma, Then it starts to manifest as synchronicity. Then it starts to manifest as consistent manifestation. Now the next step is just figuring out how to pinpoint how you're manifesting these things and, making them work specifically. Do you follow what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm talking about? Is this true? Is this false? Your five senses are the elemental forces. Your habits are the elemental forces. Your environment is the elemental forces. Your consciousness only experiences the elemental forces. This is real. This is realer than real. This is what the magic is. There's nothing else. There might be other fancy names and titles and different techniques and rituals and all sorts of surface level differences, but I'm telling you, this is the essence of it. This is the essence of it. It don't really get more distilled than this. Why? Because it was simple in the beginning. People made it complicated. But as you can see, we're going back to the source where it was simple. Where it was simple. Back to basics, as Patchwork says. So here's the full picture, actually. It was actually Ganesh and Jesus, right? It is your duty to discipline the elemental forces. The elemental forces are your experience, and it is your duty to discipline. Notice I said discipline now that we got old Jesus in the picture. The 12 disciples, 12 reduces to 4 and 3. 4 elements, 3 gunas. Oh, it was a story for you. It was the story for you. Your duty is to discipline the elemental forces. This is the purpose of all spiritual practice. There is not a single spiritual practice that has ever existed where the purpose was not to discipline these forces. This is where your power comes from. This is where the siddhis come from. Demons are nothing but your own unrefined energies, not some external boogeyman, but your, specifically you, not anybody else's, your unrefined energies. You must cultivate these forces. That's your task. Joe says, when I'm driving home, that's when I see 0000 in front of me and a number plate. Hey, man, new beginning. It's a new beginning. You're at that 0 point, the infinity point, the Akash point. That's the black egg right there. Tap in. Benjamin says, yo, I just remembered I was driving to Kroger and saw a license plate that said Lucky. Right, there we go again with the license plate. And what is a license plate? It is the identification for the vehicle. So the identification that he saw in the vehicle was 0 point. The identification you saw was Lucky. He said, I got a random discount on my groceries, then saw the license plate again. Man, y'all better take this seriously, because here's what's going on. These forces are communicating with you. They're communicating with you through the easiest way possible. Remember, your experience is the elemental forces. Sight is an elemental force. It's an elemental. Sight is an elemental. Hearing is an elemental. That's why I'm saying this. That's why I said synchronicities are an example of you disciplining these forces. Somebody's hearing me. I don't know who's hearing me. I hope y'all hearing what I'm saying. Because like this, if I heard this back when I showed that first picture of me, if I heard this back then, you know how much time I would have saved, how much heartbreak and struggle and money I would have saved just getting to the good part. But I had to come through this so that I can have a story to tell, so I can have the experience really locked in. I chose this, right? A part of me chose this because My higher self knew that this was the journey that I had to take to get these lessons. Just like your higher self knows that this is the journey that you have to take to get your lessons. Patchwork, once again, 555. 555, the master teacher, change, Gibara. Patrick says the four elements: Leo, fire; Taurus, earth; Aquarius, air; and Scorpio, water. Sounds like an image that might pop up on the screen very soon. So look, you can transmute these energies from wild chaos to magical power. That's what you're supposed to be doing. From wild chaos to magical power. Siddhis, good luck, synchronicity, manifestation, right? It starts as good luck. It turns into synchronicity. That becomes siddhis. That becomes manifestation. This is the path. It's not random. It's not just throw some shit at the wall and it sticks. This is the path. This is what you're doing. This is how you do it. Look, so let's go back to that first slide. What is an elemental, right? Supernatural being that embodies a force of nature. Gnomes, earth; undines, water; sylphs, air; salamanders, fire. Now you see, when we talk about salamanders, we're talking about the fiery power of your eyes. We talk about sylphs and these fairies. We're talking about the wonderful sensations of touch. Undines come to you through taste. What are you addicted to tasting? What are you addicted to eating? Are you addicted to certain foods? Debbie cakes? Because that's the power of water elementals, undines, gnomes, right? These are the patterns of smell and also dense texture, physical things. So what I'm saying is, whatever your patterns are, whether they're addictions, whether they're good patterns and habits, these are literally the expression of the elemental forces. Sage Page says, I manifested you for this period in my life, and I'm grateful. They say when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So I'm grateful to be of service. Because there was a time where I was just yapping, and nobody gave a damn about anything I was talking about. So I'm grateful to have you here. I'm in a good mood. What about y'all? This information puts me in a great mood. This information makes me happy, right? Because I get a passion from this. Like, it really feels like I'm living my purpose doing this. This is meaningful. This is full of substance. This is real, right? I'm not up here just yapping about some dumb shit. This is eternal. What better is there to talk about? What better is there to spend your time doing? I feel good. I hope you do too. I hope you do too. So now we talk about these elementals. Now you see what I'm talking about. You see what I'm talking about. This is your life. This is your experience. So of course you've got to master these things. Now look, you got to be able to comprehend this, because your spiritual comprehension determines the level at which you display your authority. You get that? Your spiritual comprehension, how much you're able to comprehend about your higher self, about your intuition, about that true self of yours. How well do you comprehend that true self? Because that determines the level at which you display your authority. When you know yourself, you display your authority. It just makes sense. When you don't know yourself, you display your ignorance, and the elementals run all over you and do whatever they want. But your spiritual comprehension determines the level at which you display your authority. Check. Hell, screenshot that. So once again, like I said in the beginning, a magus is one who understands certain frameworks of operation. Certain frameworks. In order to manipulate energy successfully and sustainably, the practitioner will be able to be skilled in the following. Now, let me show you the following things that you got to be skilled in. You got to be skilled in communication. You got to be skilled in the methodology, right? You got to be skilled in the ontology, which is the background, right? What is this all made of? What's the point? You got to be skilled in energy movement. And all this leads to your authority. This is important, right? When I say communication, I'm talking about knowing how to communicate with these elementals. They don't necessarily just speak through English, they speak symbolically because, like I said, they are subliminal. They are in your subconscious mind. You got to know how to communicate with these things. You got to have a method to be able to keep your mind straight, to filter out the nonsense, to get past confusion, right? To get right in there. The ontology, like I said, you got to understand what's the beginning and what's the end. What's the beginning of the story? What's the end of the story? The beginning of the story is all is one. The end is all is one. Now in the middle, one became two, two became three. I showed you that diagram. We're learning about the tree of life. But if you understand the lay of the land, the beginning and the end, then you can see where you fit in this whole thing. And as far as energy movement, you've got to know how to sit there and build energy, how to balance energy, and how to disperse energy movement. This is the work of the mages. Marco Power, peace. Marco Power says, I got a good one for you, Trev. You can't even receive the proper answers you need until you can formulate the proper questions. Absolutely. That's a good one. Yes. Absolutely. You can't formulate proper questions until certain lessons are learned. Bingo. Conscious identity. Peace. Peace. Spiritual planes don't see you. What? Spiritual planes. Remember we talked about those worlds, those stacks of worlds? Spiritual planes don't see you as a person. You're seen as energy, as an algorithm. So think about that. You're not seen as a person. You're not seen as your false self. Spiritual planes don't see you as your ego and who you pretend to be or who you think you are. They see your energy and the pattern that your energy expresses itself as an algorithm. Look at your daily life. When you wake up, the first thing that you do every single day, right? What you do from the beginning of the day to the middle of the day to the end of the day, all of your consistent patterns, that is literally your algorithm. That is your algorithm. And this is how the spiritual planes see you. So if you want to change your connection to your higher self in these spiritual planes, you've got to adjust your algorithm, right? Now we're getting real practical, aren't we? Because we all have things that we do during the day that maybe we could not do or do better, right? Right? So check this out. Let's talk about this algorithm because you're seen as energy, as an algorithm. What's an algorithm? A well-defined sequence of steps. It's explained clearly enough that even a computer could do them. We talking about something even a computer could do? A program? A finite set of unambiguous instructions that, given some set of initial conditions, can be performed in a prescribed sequence to achieve certain goals that has a recognizable set of end conditions, a set of procedures guaranteed to find the solution to a problem, a precise step-by-step plan for a computational procedure that possibly begins with an input and yields an output in a finite number of steps. We're talking about a program, right? Once again, spiritual planes don't see you as a person. You're seen as energy, as an algorithm. What is an algorithm? A well-defined sequence of steps. Patrick says even NPCs can follow orders. You see where we're about to go with this. Autopilot. What's autopilot? Autopilot is a device that controls a vehicle without human involvement, a state of automatic or unconscious action. So if you're not driving the ship, who's driving the ship? Somebody tell me in the chat. If your algorithm is on autopilot and you're doing the same patterns and routines day in after day out, if you're not driving the ship, somebody tell me who's driving the ship. Somebody tell me who's driving the ship. It says autopilot is a device that controls a vehicle without human involvement or a state of automatic or unconscious action. Who's driving? I know somebody's got the answer. It's these elemental forces that you've trained. Remember, every pattern, every habit. There you go. Joey Thomas's elementals are driving. Patchwork says the elements are running rampant, right? You've programmed them. You've shown them what to do. Remember, your entire experience is the elemental forces and nothing else. So if you're on autopilot, right, you know what it means to be on autopilot. You know what that means. You just going along to get along. You just living, going through the day, make your coffee, drive to work, listen to the same radio station. Hey, how's it going? Working hard or hardly working? It's hot out there. It's still hot out there? Did you catch the game last night? You should try the lasagna. It's my favorite. You like hot fudge sundaes? Right? Autopilot. These are things that you've said before hundreds of times. The elementals are the reflections of the past. What are we doing here? But on the inside, you're screaming because you want something different, right? On the inside, you're screaming because you want to live. But you've built a prison. And you know that you're better than that. You know you deserve more than that. I felt it. I've been there. Some of y'all are still there. Some people watch my videos in secret because they're afraid of what their friends or family might think if they saw my thumbnail pop up on their phone. What the fuck is that? You know that devil shit? What is this? All right? So what happens next? Let's talk about instincts. What are instincts? Instincts are an inborn pattern of behavior that is characteristic of a species and often a response to a specific environmental stimuli. Check this out. An instinct is something you don't need to learn. It happens naturally without you even thinking about it. Babies cry by instinct, and ducks follow their mother by instinct. So we're talking about a set of patterns that is ingrained even into your flesh, right? You don't have to teach a baby to suck on a breast. You don't have to teach adults how to have sex. Some things are, you don't have to teach somebody how to chew up food and swallow it down. You naturally learn how to do these because it's built into your flesh. So there's patterns deep within you. That's a real deep level of autopilot, of NPC. Angelique Shamrell says, it's you who decides whether you should be controlling. Sorry about the way I acted towards you, Travis. Hey, I don't keep grudges. No harm, no foul. You see that right there? Instincts. So are you operating from the animal plane, the human plane, or the God level? It's levels to this now. Sage Page says it's hard to chat with beings on autopilot nowadays. It's exactly because these elementals are deaf, dumb, and blind. So there's intuition also. There's intuition versus instinct. Instinct is automatic autopilot built into the genes. Intuition is the voice of that true self. You know, there's a lot of people who hear intuition but ignore it. Have you ever ignored intuition? What's intuition? The faculty of knowing or understanding something without reasoning or proof. Remember we talked about Sat Chidananda? We talked about that understanding of the universe, that the universe will, it provides for you, that God has your back, the Tao, the way, the truth, it's there. See, that's a level of existence. That's not just a love and light thing. It's a state of existence to understand that God is there for you, that you're connected directly, that everything's going to be okay. That's a state of existence. And when you have intuition speak to you, it's coming from that level. Sometimes intuition feels like it goes against the autopilot, doesn't it? Sometimes when intuition comes through, it feels like it's going against your programming. It's in those moments that you show who you are. Are you devoted to that NPC? Are you devoted to that programming? Are you devoted to autopilot? Or are you really trying to get up out of that shell? Are you really trying to expand to become who you are? It depends in those silent moments. Not on what images you post or what cool quotes you post online, but those moments when intuition comes through? Do you listen or do you run back to what's safe? Only you know the answer to that. Only you know the answer to that. It's not for everybody, only for those who are ready. And if you're ready, I'm telling you once again, now is the time. It's the year of the 9, year of the hermit. The hermit is the path on the Kabbalah that connects Chesed to Tifereth. This is the door to manifestation. You've got an opportunity. I hope you're taking it. I certainly am. Evolution. From animal to man to Sith Lord. You may have seen this picture before. But where are we going? What are you doing? Where are you going? What's your speed? Right? Where are you at with it? Are you evolving? Are you expanding? Are you becoming something more? Or are you going backwards? Notice how we evolve out of matter and into a more spiritual lifestyle. That's evolution. The body's not going to evolve anymore. This is now an evolution of consciousness. Where you at with it? Where you at with it? Only you know. And I tell you what, the more that you ignore your intuition, the more that you fight against that intuition, the more that you don't listen to it and push it aside and pretend that it doesn't exist, them chances are going to be fewer and fewer. Fewer and fewer. Like somebody said right here in the chat, he said, Marco Power says, people literally make a conscious decision to be dumbed down. That's what I've learned. Most people like being mental slaves. It's a conscious decision. And most people don't like being mental slaves. They like feeling safe. There's a safety in that routine. They're not bad people. We're all trying to escape our suffering. All of us. We all have the same exact motive. We're all trying to escape suffering and find happiness. All of us are. It's just some people are too afraid to go beyond their comfort zone. And for most human beings on this planet, the comfort zone is the algorithms that they've inherited, whether it's through genetics or through culture. They're stuck. And it's safe there. It's safe there. How long did it take you to get into this occult? How long did it take you to watch my videos? How long did it take you to not be afraid to buy an occult book or read it or practice a ritual? How long did it take you to break out of your old pattern? But you got to follow that intuition, because the intuition is the voice that's coming from the higher self, that's coming from that state of Satchitananda. It's coming from a place that is beyond the elements. Following your intuition is the key. Sage Page says you will not be able to function properly in 2025 if you ignore your intuition. I might make that a title of my video. Send me that on Instagram. Benjamin says, wow, your full moon ritual coming full circle. It still works. And we got that full moon coming up on Monday. Yeah, I remember. Seer, King Payment, Jupiter and Sun. Yep. Now check this out. Even in the Bible, it talks about these elementals, right? There's 2 verses. First one's Colossians 2:8. It says, see to it that no one takes you captive through hollow and deceptive philosophy, which depends on human tradition and the elemental spiritual forces of this world rather than on Christ. Do you hear what I said about that intuition versus the safety of being in culture? Look at how it places hollow deceptive philosophy, right? He's not talking about magic and this. He's talking about human tradition and the elemental spiritual forces, culture, what everybody's doing, not what the few are doing. He's talking about what everyone's doing. It's ruled by the elemental spiritual forces. It's an egregore and a hive mind of autopilot rather than on Christ, which represents the 5th element, Akash. the one that is beyond. Also in Galatians 4:3, so also when we are underage, we are in slavery under the elemental spiritual forces of the world. That's what Bobby Hemmett talked about as well. When you're a child, you are under the dominion of these elemental forces because your higher consciousness, you haven't made conscious connection to it yet. But you're not a child anymore. So let's get to it now. Look, instinct comes from the elemental kingdom. Intuition comes from the spiritual kingdom. These are two different kingdoms. Remember I showed you those different worlds? Om, Bhur, Bhuva, Swaha. You can only gain spiritual authority by spending time with intuition, with the spiritual kingdom. You see why that makes sense now? That's not just me saying that. You can only gain spiritual authority by spending time with intuition, with the spiritual kingdom. Because it's coming from a place that is beyond the matrix. It is coming from a place of freedom, of liberation, of love. And when you walk in that power, you walk with the authority of that kingdom. You walk in this elemental world with the authority of heaven. What would you do with that authority? How would you change your life? How would you reconstruct your life if you walked with the authority of heaven? If you walked with the 100% knowledge that everything's going to work out in my benefit, without a doubt, without any doubt, how would your life be different? What would you do differently? How long would it take for you to really be happy? Not long. Especially if you know what you want. Especially if you know what you're worth. The elemental forces follow the patterns set forth by a higher authority. The elemental forces obey the voice of the Creator. The elemental forces have no choice but to bring to manifestation the words and beliefs that you act upon. Get your thought process back from the elemental autopilot. Get your thought process back from the elemental autopilot. Who's serious about it? Who's really serious about it? The value of authority, once more, the value of authority depends on the force behind the user. The value of the authority depends on the force behind the user. You walk with the authority of heaven, of God, because you understand that that is you, that it is you. Phoenix Magus 222, peace. Phoenix Magus says, change your mindset, change your life. Change your mindset, change your life. Kennard, peace. Woke up straight into the knowledge. Appreciate this work. This is it right here. This is it. A lot of the other stuff you can do for fun, sure. But this is it. This is the vitamins, the nutrients. This is the core, the heart of it. I don't know what they're talking about over there, but I'll tell you again, you're not going to get this at Walmart. You're not going to get this at Kentucky Fried Chicken. You're not going to get this at the Dollar General. You can't go to college for this knowledge. They won't teach you this knowledge in college. Shout out to Fat Tony. The value of authority depends upon the force behind the user. Your spiritual comprehension determines the level at which you display your authority. A magus is one who understands certain frameworks of operation in order to manipulate energy successfully and sustainably. practitioner will be skilled in the following: communication, methodology, ontology, energy, and authority. All right? Understand it. Understand it. And I can help you understand it, especially if you want to learn quickly. If you're tired of waiting, if you're tired of scrambling and scraping, if you're ready to turn 2025 into your best year, I'm offering help. This elemental magic class is where I teach this in detail. Got a new session here for 2025. It's a brand new year. I ran this class once before. We've added some stuff to it. This is powerful. I'll teach you how to break free from useless behavior patterns. I'll teach you how to realize your soul authority over the physical plane. You'll learn how to gain elemental equilibrium, how to live in alignment with your God self, how to magnetize your intention, a paradigm shift into your desired reality. And this is what we want. This is why we're doing this. So let me show you what goes on in this course, right? It's a 4-week course. Week 1, we go over the earth element. I teach you about consciousness and matter. Remember what I said, knowing the beginning and the end gives you the playing field to operate from. I teach you the basics of the elemental spirits. We go over what's called the 5 C's. And this is the key part of this first week. The 5 C's is my custom process that shows you how to connect to intuition. We're going to show you how to saturate yourself in that, right? And I'll show you some testimonials of students who've already gone through this. This works, and it has already worked for several people. The 5 C's shows you how to expand your spiritual comprehension. And remember what I said about that comprehension, right? Your spiritual comprehension determines the level at which you display your authority. So more comprehension, more authority. Of course, each week I give you a guided meditation that shows you how to connect with the particular elemental that we're dealing with. Now look, week 2, after we finish that, this is go at your own pace, but I've broken it down into weeks so you can really digest the information, because I know everyone has a job and a life. I'm not going to overwhelm you with hours and hours of videos. This is right to the point. We go over communication, right? How to develop a symbolic language. And I've already addressed the biggest obstacles in communication. We go over that. I'll teach you about spiritual downloads, right? Exercises to open up these channels of communication. And of course, a guided meditation with the air elemental to really connect with these forces. Week 3, we go over the water element. And we're dealing with methodology. This is my favorite week because we talk about the 7 pillars of the Magus. This is my custom foolproof system that shows you how to mentally navigate these spiritual realms without confusion, with confidence, with certainty, right? You keep hearing me say certain phrases like, is it useful and appropriate, right? Build your library of correspondences. Well, I've got these principles set up in such a way to where you won't be confused and you won't need to be asking all the time, what do I do? What do I do? I'm showing you how to think for yourself in this spiritual realm. Once again, I'm not going to bombard you with too much information. We've cut right to the important parts. Week 4, we deal with fire. Now, this is arguably the most powerful aspect in the course. As some of the students have already said, we talk about energy movement. I'm teaching an unvaulted technique that I haven't taught in years, right? It's about how to build energy, how to balance energy, how to disperse energy. And really, this is the only ritual that you really need to know to do energy work, to build it, to balance it, to disperse it. I'm also adding now in this new session, the power of magical trance, right? So this is going to be one of the new aspects of this course that wasn't in there before. And of course, I got it meditation to connect with your fire elemental. Now, what's also new for this new year is a completely new module about this spiritual authority, how to channel the higher self. And we're going to go over these rituals of how to shape the astral plane and how to transmute your elemental forces. Again, this is what we want. This is what we're doing Magick for. To learn how to transmute these forces into manifestation so that we can literally build the life that we want to live within. So this is the elemental magic course that I'm offering here, the elemental magic mastery system. Now check this out. We got a New Year bonus. Enroll this weekend. Enroll before the full moon. Enroll by the full moon. And you specifically will receive 3 free coaching sessions, right? So you sign up this weekend and you will automatically get 3 coaching sessions with me. And I will walk you through this course. I will help you identify your elemental patterns and how to transform them. We'll talk about what you're currently doing in your spiritual path. I'm not just going to throw information at you. I want to hear what you've got going on, what you've worked with, where you currently stand, and I can help you get to the end result of this course. I'll help you understand how to implement this material into your daily life. So this is the New Year's bonus. Join now, and I will spend my personal time to work with you one-on-one. Here's a few testimonials from the students who've already taken this course, just so you can see that it's not just me talking, right? I've been doing these courses for years, and I've got nothing but great feedback. Here's what some people had to say about this specific course. Miles says, I've completed all the elemental meditations, and the gang is all together. He's talking about his elementals. Day 2 of the etheric catalysis. That's the unvaulted technique that I teach. He says meditations, and this is exactly what I was looking for. So much to say about this one. I see why you were hyping this up. I'm already feeling and seeing results. As I assimilate this more and more into my daily routine, I'll eventually have my big breakthrough, and I'll give my full feedback. I'll tell you what, he has certainly reached a breakthrough. I don't want to give out all his business, but I don't know if that's the one he was talking about. But my man has, this is the guy that said all my elementals are winners. This guy has most definitely manifested some abundance, some goodness in his life, right? So over here, my psychic abilities have been getting stronger, bro. I'm going to go through the course again. Thank you, right? These are real people who've taken this course and taken their time and took this seriously, right? How are we doing so far? The delivery of the content is fucking crystal clear. Looking forward to the rest of the modules to open. This has been detailed information. Appreciate it. A lot of teachers usually dance around the actual practice, but this is straightforward as can be. Visually fire too. Look at what Kiara says. Hey, good morning. I'm in deep thought this morning. I may be a little slow to this or possibly overthinking, but I feel like the elemental forces are demonic and angelic within each element. Being aware of that, if that is the case, doing the meditations, the elemental that goes out and helps create the circumstance for my intentions can be demonic or angelic, which doesn't really matter ultimately, but knowing that just gives me an aha moment. Having spiritual authority over both the angelic and demonic. I just feel so much more at peace with myself. Also being thankful for both and myself and the process. It just has been confusing for me with my self-development from having a religious background to being a spiritual Zen light worker to dealing with the occult and diving deep in the left-hand path. I didn't know what path to take. The light or the dark. It's like picking a team. Now it's like there are no teams. It's all one. Having faith, period. Does anyone else have insights on this? Travis Magus, I don't know what you've done, but I didn't know what faith truly was until now. Thank you. Right? So how many of you are sitting there like, what path do I choose? Right hand path, left hand path? Imagine coming to the point where you realize they're both yours. Powerful stuff. Look what Cloud Flex says. The Elemental Magic Mastery System is an outstanding course worth every penny. The modules are thoughtfully organized, creating a seamless flow of information. The exercises are especially insightful, helping you become more aware of how you process thoughts and pinpoint blockages so you can work on clearing them and taking control of your life and desires. Travis's voice is both captivating and inspiring. The course is filled with valuable insights, and if you apply what you learn, it will truly transform your life for the better. Since taking the course, my mind has operated like an efficient enterprise, monitoring and processing everything that comes out. I've gained a clearer understanding of how different elements influence my actions and reactions, and you'll even start to notice these patterns in others too. It's fascinating. If you're on the fence, I'd highly recommend it. So this is what I want to leave you with. You are only one ritual away. One. So look, this is the year that you manifest what you've been waiting for. Join my Elemental Magic Mastery System class. The link is in the description of this video. If you're ready to join right now, I'll go ahead and post the link in the chat. Absolutely. Like I said, if you sign up this weekend, you'll automatically get 3 coaching sessions with me to help you go through this course. And at this point, I'm taking any questions. If you have any questions or anything like that about elemental forces, about the course, whatever, let me know. Other than that, I think it's time to go on to the next phase. Good stuff. Good stuff. It's all one team. Elah says, is intuition masculine or feminine energy? Well, that's the thing. It's coming from a transcendent place. So it is both and neither. It's something that's going beyond the elements. Now, you're the one that's receiving it. So you could say that intuition is masculine because you're receiving it, but it's androgynous. It is beyond gender because it's coming from a place outside of manifestation. Angelique Shamrell says, teach me, Travis, as you are my new teacher to me. Absolutely. Keep watching my videos, and even better, enroll in my class. Joy Thomas says, you can't get this from public library. Right. Can't get this from TikTok. Won't be able to get much of anything from TikTok soon. Grand Rising, Audie Moore. Straight to the knowledge. Straight to the knowledge. Joey Thomas, as you said about general curse and how to break them using elemental forces. Yeah, so the first thing that I always say, okay, so when it comes to curses, maybe 80 to 90% of the time, it's you doing it, right? All it takes is for somebody to say that they've cursed you, and your mind starts running around, and now you're training your elementals to manifest that. Now there is that small 15 to 20% where you've actually been cursed by somebody that knows what they're doing. That's rare. In fact, there actually was one student in my class who had that situation. She told me her whole story, and it was serious business. But I tell you what, spiritual authority overrides that, because in order for a curse to enact, to be manifested, it works through your elemental forces, through yours. Like I said, 9 times out of 10, you're the one that's teaching them and training them to do that. But if you elevate your perspective to this point of Satchidananda, if you elevate your perspective to the soul level and realize reality obeys you because you stand in the authority of the higher self, There ain't no curse. There ain't no curse that can affect you. And that shouldn't seem far-fetched because they do this in church. By the power of the name of Jesus, I break this curse. Right? You got a pastor who could stand in the authority of Christ. He can break that curse. And you can do the same thing when you're in alignment with your higher self. But if you're operating from the perspective of the body and the elements and fear, you're probably going to feed that curse and fuel it yourself. Angelique says, are your background on portal, different types of portals to different dimensions, Travis? Absolutely. I talk to different people at different levels. So I do what I can to speak to as many levels at once, whether that's liminally or subliminally. Snow says, you're still doing that other course with Cyclomancy book. Maybe sometime in the future. Right now, we're focused on the elemental. Joey Thomas says, you said about generational curses and how to break them using elemental forces. How? It starts with being able to identify the patterns that are manifested from this curse. What are the patterns? Remember what I said before about instincts and these algorithms? Some of these patterns are ingrained in the DNA. Some of them are handed down, inherited genetically, energetically. Step one is to recognize them, identify them. Step two is to find out what these patterns actually need. When you find out what they need, you could reprogram them. Once again, it's not about fighting, not about going to war. These patterns behave in such a way to protect something. They've been given a command. That's what they do. If their end result is causing harm, they need to be reprogrammed. But before you can reprogram it, you have to identify it. Just like a computer virus, you got to find it first, analyze what it's affecting and how it's affecting it, and then transmute it. This can be done through trance. This can be done through meditation. This can be done through being in a dark room with a candle speaking into a mirror. And there are other ways. Observer says, definitely finna enroll in 2 weeks when I get paid. Right on, right on. We'll see you there. I am fit HCX says, and if we sign up, should we click on the VIP option? You can if you want. If you sign up this weekend, you will get those 3 sessions. If you click that, you'll get an additional 3 sessions. So if you'd like to do that, by all means, go ahead. I will honor that. But if you sign up this weekend, you will get 3 free. If you click that link for the additional 3, you'll have a total of 6. Joey Thomas says, elementals are everything in 2025, using them to control chaos. Yes, and to build order. Patrick says, took the words right out of my mouth, Travis, recognizing patterns and why they're there and rewriting, replacing them with better habits. Right. We do this all the time. Now translate when you've been successful with this into this new experience. You've got the skills. Just got to know thyself. Patrick says, may enroll. Got to see what my next check is looking like. Right on, right on. Angelique says, I've seen a lot of programs that became illusions to me, like they were not real to me anymore. And if you keep following that train of thought, the only thing that's left will be what's real. The Most High. Phoenix Magus 222 says, no order without chaos. Right on, right on. So yeah, if there's no more questions about the elemental forces, about the presentation, about the class, I think now's a good time for everyone to go about their day. Early in the morning, right? Late night live stream. Late night live stream. Love it. I'm surprised that so many of y'all are up right now. I think there might have been more people here than the last time I went live at 8 p.m. Might have to start broadcasting this late, this early. Cool beans, cool beans, cool beans. You're the hermit. Manifestation year. All year long. By the end of the year, you should be a manifestation master, manifestation powerhouse. Hell, by the summer. And it's real. It's real. If you place yourself in that position, that I am, that Sat Chit Ananda that we talked about, placing yourself in that position of spiritual authority, you'll find that nothing can be kept from you because you're not separate from anything. All the things that you think you lack are yours, but you have to exist in that state first. And your experience is controlled, or I should say expressed, through the elementals. If they're not behaving the way that you need them to be, you need to exercise that authority. You need to exercise that authority. I teach you how to do that in my class. Phoenix Major says time is an illusion, right? Sage Page says, thank you, Travis. Thank you. I see that you messaged me, so I'll get to your messages once we're done here. Patrick says, hell, I used to be obsessed with conspiracy theories, but replaced that with a serious pursuit in Magick. That's a program I rewrote. Nice, nice. Jay Davy says, peace, late but early. Peace, Jay. Peace. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Sage Page says, for anyone who wants to enroll, the funds will find you. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. All right. This has been a beautiful time. I thoroughly enjoyed our experience. Nothing I'd rather do, nothing I'd rather be doing than kicking it with my favorite people in the universe. Talking about the most important things in the universe. We're paying attention this year. We're putting in work this year. We're doing what we said we were going to do. Everybody. We're exercising spiritual authority. No more fear. No more fear. No more distraction. Unless you want, right? Because sometimes distraction's fun. Yeah. But our minds will not be consumed with that nonsense. See it clearly. Do it. See it clearly. Plan it out, construct it, build it. Have a strong, solid purpose. Break it into pieces. If it's a big thing, don't get overwhelmed. Break it into pieces. And do what you can every day. Rest, right? Get yourself some rest. That's hella important too. See, they got the whole time calendar thing mixed up. They got us trying to start a new year in the middle of a winter. That's why most people give up. Yesterday is officially quit day. You ever heard of quit day? Everyone makes New Year's resolutions, and it's been statistically down to a science. The second Friday of the new year is when most people quit their New Year's resolutions. We ain't doing no quit day. Get up and get back on it. Get up and get back on it. Life is beautiful. You don't have to suffer. You don't have to suffer. You don't have to suffer. There are no enemies. TK says, Trav, do you ever wear white? No. I think I've been dressed in black since. Wait a minute. Do I ever wear white? Do I ever wear white? I got a picture here the last time I wore white. There it is. That was the last time I wore white. Long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. I was channeling some real shit back then. Too hot to handle. Patrick says the new year starts in the spring, new life blooming. Exactly. Yeah. So that's where I was going. This right now is the season for rest and hibernation. So definitely don't beat yourself up if you need more rest than usual. Get that sleep. I love sleep. Get that sleep because you need that too. You're still doing work. You're doing work on the subtle planes. So sleep is part of it as well. Do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it, of course. But when it's time to take a break and get some sleep, please do that. All right. So if you're tuning in late, go back to the beginning. Fire S presentation, teaching about these elemental forces. Specifically, teaching about how elemental magic is the only way to master manifestation. And how you possess the authority already. You just have to realize it, right? And this is what you must learn if you want to have any sense of control over your health life, love life, financial life, spiritual life, and your ability to help your loved ones. It all boils down to this. Spiritual authority over the elemental experience. That's what all magic is teaching. Joey Thomas says sleep helps to boost tachyon energy. It's not a flex to skip sleep. All right. Good to go. I wish you all the best. Stay consistent. Stay focused. Keep doing what you're supposed to be doing. Keep your vision. My people perish for lack of vision. Know thyself. Increase that spiritual capacity. Continue down this path of introspection, contemplation, inner guidance, self-reflection, soul-searching, solitude. Continue, because the answers are within. All right? So, click the link that's pinned to the top of these comments. The new class is starting. I hope to see you there. And hopefully, you'll share your testimonial with me as well that I can share with everyone else. All right. So that's that. Janae, peace and love all the way in Detroit. Peace, peace, peace to all my favorite people in the universe. I'll see y'all next time. Matter of fact, I'll see y'all tonight as we continue with the book study of the mystical Kabbalah. All right. So this is TK Trav, aka Travis Magus, here with LVX777. I love you. Peace.